When you think of accounting and finance, what comes to mind? Don't worry, this is not my course. I have something just a little more special planned for you. Do you want to learn about accounting and finance in a way that you've never been taught before? Of course you do. My visual approach will teach you everything you need to know, and it will be a lot of fun. In fact, you'll wonder why you weren't taught this way in school. Oh, and if you get a moment, please check out the student reviews to see how so many people have enjoyed the learning experience. And you know what the best part is? No experience is necessary to take this course. So if you don't know how to model and value a company, analyze a cash flow statement, or understand the difference between growth and value investing, not to worry. We will cover all of those concepts from scratch. So why should you learn accounting and finance from me? I have an MBA in finance from Columbia University. But more importantly, I have work experience in the real world, from Goldman Sachs to several hedge funds, to venture capital and consulting firms. I've raised and managed over $1 billion in my career. Now I'm passionate about sharing my knowledge and experience. My life has turned full circle, from my own education to my experience in business, to investing in and founding several companies. Instead of teaching boring finance and accounting theory, I teach based on my own real-life practical experience, and it has led me right here to you. I want you to understand how to create, analyze, and forecast an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. I want you to thoroughly understand and enjoy finance and accounting so that you can be inspired to achieve all of your career goals. I have the tools needed to get the job done. So let's do it. I'll see you in class. Good morning and welcome to our 102nd weekly webcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way the call works is it's 3 hours. This is an AMA, like you see on Reddit. AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, personal questions, etc. And within 24 hours of this call being completed, what my team does is they take all the questions you've asked and they place it into the description field of this YouTube video so that you can click and get immediate access to the questions that were asked. Now, I answer the questions in the order in which I received them. If I miss any questions, please just repost them again, and thank you as always. Okay, our first question here is from Shubham, who's saying, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. It's always great to be a part of your webcast. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the commitment. Thank you. And the support, of course. And your question is, what do you learn in courses related to business analytics? What knowledge of business is required to do it? Yeah. So there's not much knowledge required business-wise. So business analytics is a process of using software products to analyze data and look for trends. It's a lot of fun too. I love it. And so all the big software companies have their own business analytics companies. For example, IBM, in the summer of 2006, they bought Cognos. You've got Oracle, who bought Hyperion, ticker HYSL was the ticker. And then you have SAP bought Business Objects, ticker used to be BobJ. And those three big software companies realized years ago how important this sector is. And so they bought those aforementioned products and folded them into their product portfolio. Another great company, and probably my favorite data or business analytics company, is Tableau. The ticker used to be DATA for data, and Salesforce.com bought the company. And Christian Chublow is the founder. That company was based in Seattle, and he's probably the most passionate CEO I've ever met. And I met him before the IPO. Morgan Stanley's investment bankers introduced me to him before the IPO, just get feedback, etc. But I love that product because Tableau, which again is now owned by Salesforce.com, is a really simplistic product to use. If you know how to use Microsoft Excel and you've played around with pivot tables, then you'll be able to use Tableau software. And I enjoy it tremendously. Yeah. And so probably one of the bigger end markets for a lot of this data analysis, these data analysis products are consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Accenture, et cetera. And what these big consulting firms do is they're hired to help big companies and governments make strategy decisions. And quite often, what they do is they have to back up their strategy decisions with data, which is why they use those aforementioned 4 or 5 products that I mentioned. But you don't have to have a background in business to be able to enjoy and use those products at all. You just have to know how to, play around with pivot tables. Yes, there is some more slightly advanced stuff that deals with SQL or structured query language where you can tie together a couple lines of code to manipulate or look at data in different ways. But for the most part, a lot of these business analytics packages are drag and drop. And I'm sure that if you go to the websites of the 4 or 5 companies I mentioned, you can get free versions of that product for trial purposes. Okay. But I would say in general, when it comes to business knowledge, like the biggest thing in business that's not common sense is finance and accounting. A lot of the rest of business is common sense for the most part. But you have to learn that language. It's another language, it is. And you have to enjoy it, kind of like that opening video I showed of how I teach finance and accounting. I enjoy teaching it like it's a good book. And I know it sounds nerdy, but it can be a lot of fun once you understand all the relationships between the different balance sheet items, income statement items, cash flow items, etc. And if I were to tell you to learn one basic thing about accounting, it would be this: sales. Sales and revenue is the same thing. And sales or revenue, same thing. It's located at the top of the income statement, which is why people say, what's your top line? And the bottom line is net profit. The reason why I say sales is the most important thing to understand or to analyze with any company is because when you model the future and you're forecasting what you think earnings are going to look like for a company many years in the future, which is the basis for valuation, when you're modeling the future, you always start with sales, and many other items just become a percent of sales. Not all of them, but most. So once you nail sales, and you figure out what you think a company is going to make revenue or sales-wise, same thing, longer term, then forecasting the rest of the financial statements is quite easy because most items, again, become a percent of sales. Okay. And you got to be careful with accounting and finance. I know I teach it, but I have to be completely honest and transparent as always. I got a D the first time I took accounting at McGill University. It was the summer of 1990. I'm certainly dating myself. Actually, no, it was the summer of 91 after my first year. And I called up MARS, which is McGill Automated Registration Service. And it was this computer. And the computer told me my grades. And she said, for accounting, your grade is D. And I thought my life was over then. I really did. And the reason why I got a D in accounting the first time I took it is because I was memorizing it and not understanding it. You can do well in high school if you memorize stuff, but once you enter the real world or university, you can't memorize stuff and do well. You have to understand it. And so I learned the hard way that you have to understand and enjoy financial statements and financial ratios, etc. And I'll give you one little tip when it comes to understanding valuation, and I teach this to my MBA degree students with a lot of props, too many props actually. I overdo it. But from now on, whenever you see a ratio like price to earnings or price to revenue or anything with a numerator over denominator, I want you to pretend that the denominator is always 1. Hear me out. And then the numerator is how many times that 1. For example, if a company trades at a price to earnings ratio of 30, that means for every $1 on the denominator, okay, so a PE of 30 means 30 over 1, basically. That means for every $1 in earnings a company makes, investors are paying 30 times that $1. Okay, so, and the same thing holds true with profit margins. So profit margins means net income over sales. And that means for every $1 in sales on the denominator, how many pennies are you making in net income? It's a much easier way to understand and enjoy finance and accounting if you think of it that way. Last thing I'll say on that is the balance sheet. So you have to really question why things are called what they're called. And it's fascinating too. So a balance sheet is called a balance sheet because it basically tells you that everything that you own in your life, everything you own or a company owns or a government owns, whatever, it's either owned by a bank or a person or an entity. I'll explain that. So stuff that you own, stuff you have in your possession, those are your assets. You have them, right? And so every asset you have is either owned by you or somebody else. For example, this is a Tucker car. Great movie, by the way, Tucker. Awesome movie. Really motivational too. Francis Ford Coppola directed it. You'll love it. Jeff Bridges does a great job as Tucker. So this is a balance sheet. So this is an asset. This is a car I have. I own this car. I own 100% of this car. And so I own 100% of this car. I have 100% equity in it. So that means that assets of $100 for this car, for example, equals my equity, how much I own of it, $100. So it balances. Now, if I finance this car through the bank of Tucker, then this asset is partially owned by me and is partially owned by the bank of Tucker, for example. So let's say this is a $100 asset and I own $50 of it. And the other $50 is the bank of Tucker. What that means is this. On the balance sheet, which has to balance because everything is owned by a person, a bank, or an entity, that means that assets equals liabilities plus equity. So a $100 asset equals $50 in debt to the bank of Tucker. That's a liability because I'm liable to pay it back. Plus $50 in equity. So 50 plus 50 is 100, which balances with 100. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. And you can rearrange this formula too, and math is fun. So assets equals liabilities plus equity. Okay, so what does equity equal? Well, equity is equal to assets minus liabilities. And so my net worth is equal to stuff I have, assets, minus who I'm liable to pay it back to, that sort of thing. So when you think about accounting and finance, I always want you to try to understand and enjoy ratios and financial statements, and always question, why do these things exist? Why? You know, it's like that old Sega commercial, challenge everything. Always think of it that way. And when I watch movies or television, I have my iPad on my lap, and I'm always curious about things. I always research, why are things called what they're called. And so a balance sheet is called a balance sheet because what you have has to equal or balance, think of a scale, with who owns your stuff and the amount of it you own. Always think of things that way. It'll make it so much more fun and so much more enjoyable for you to study business. You know, it's kind of like with my son Dylan. I've got 3 boys. He asks a ton of questions, and I love it. So I think it was years ago. I think it was him. He asked, or it might have been one of my other kids. I can't remember. The older I got, the better I was. But he asked, Daddy, why is it that when we go to the barber shop, there's that pole outside that's white, blue, and red? And so I was like, great question. I have to look it up. And the reason is because in medieval times in Europe, if you wanted to get an operation, you went to the barber shop. And after the operation, the barber would take white towels and dry up all the stuff, whatever. And then they put it on a blue pole out front so the wind can dry it or clean it off. And it wrapped around the pole, hence blue, white, and red. So the bottom line is that in business and in finance and accounting, if you try to understand why things are the way they are, it'll be fascinating for you and you'll never forget it. One more quick thing I got to mention about why things are the way they are. Oh, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. Okay, check this out. All right, so like for example, with a car, why is it called a trunk? Because when the Model T came out in 1906 or whatever it was, around that time, Henry Ford, I think, yeah, there was a trunk on the back. It was a trunk. They actually put a real trunk there in the back. And then you might say, well, why is it called a glove compartment? Well, because when people used to drive, they used to put on gloves. And yeah, the only thing that puzzles me is why do they say the door is ajar? I always thought it was a door. Sorry. That's the only dad humor today. I promise. No more dad humor. Okay, that's it. That's what happens when you get older, man. You use a lot of dad humor. All right. This is fun. Okay, next up is, if doing online courses doesn't add credibility in the eyes of recruiters, then what does? Given that everybody doesn't have the time or money to get practical experience of different domains. Yeah, it's a great question. Things are changing fast. So a lot of the best companies on the planet do not require a university degree anymore, and God bless them for it. Because they're not catering to the entitled or those that were, born with a silver spoon in their mouth, so to speak. And so some of those great companies that don't require university education anymore include IBM. You've also got Google. You've got Facebook. You've got Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, one of the oldest banks in the country. It's amazing. So you don't need a university degree anymore to reach your full potential. I think what's more important is your ability to network. And it's interesting because there's so many examples of people that started out in the mailroom and then made it to the corner office, meaning they became CEO with no education. And the reason is because they can network aggressively. And I'll give you some fascinating examples in a minute. But first, if you're interested in learning about networking, I have a book that'll teach you everything you need to know about networking. It's free. It's over 200 pages plus links to several hours of YouTube videos. I promise you this will help you get anything you want in life. So the way to get this is go to my website, which is harouneducation.com, and scroll down, and it's right here. And you can download this for free, this book. Yeah. So I'll give you examples of people that started out in the mailroom. So Sidney Weinberg, who is the CEO of Goldman Sachs for several decades, he started out in the mailroom. So did Simon Cowell from American Idol, and God bless him. I hope his back is feeling better. He got into a big accident recently, but he's got a positive attitude, so I know he'll get through it. Other examples of people that started in the mailroom include the former president of Cosmopolitan magazine, the former president of ESPN, David Geffen, who founded Geffen Records, and God bless him, he donated a ton of money to UCLA, to the medical school there. So you do not need to go to university to reach your full potential in life. I think that you're only as good as your last game. And for those people out there that brag that, especially my friends that went to Harvard, I'm so sorry I have to go there. I'm not just picking on everyone at Harvard, but my buddies. I always joke with them, how many minutes into a conversation with a new person is it going to take until you remind them you went to Harvard? So I don't think you need a university degree to reach your full potential. You just have to be able to network aggressively. And again, read my book. I promise you that will help you materially to get the job of your dreams, or take my courses, or my MBA degree program. I think all you have to do is create an amazing LinkedIn profile and be willing to fail over and over and over again. Because in business, you only have to be right one time. And as Michael Jordan said, I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. Take the shot. Take the shot. Don't fear rejection. Look it in the eyes. Run towards your fears and network aggressively. And you can run circles around those people that were born with silver spoons in their mouths, whose parents got them into great universities. And there was recently a scandal. I'm sure many of you heard about it. There's a couple of famous people in Hollywood that bribed officials to get their kids into USC, which is a great university in Southern California. And they lied about their kids being on the rowing team and much, much more. And those are just the ones that got caught. There has to be a ton of people, if you dig deep and do research, who got into these great schools because of that. There has to be. Why is it that extraordinarily wealthy people, their kids all go to great schools? Is it because their children were born smarter? Is it nature or nurture? I'm sure a lot of them worked hard and earned it. But I'm also convinced that a lot got in for unfair reasons. And so our perception of university is changing dramatically. A lot of people go to university They come out with $100,000 in debt, and they don't learn anything that they can immediately apply in the real world to be successful. The same thing with business school, MBA degree programs. They teach you antiquated stuff like supply and demand graphs, which nobody uses unless you're an economist. And they don't teach you the most important skills in life, in business, including how to present, how to interview, how to sell, how to manage your own money. You're taught how to manage other people's money, and how to start a company. Ask anybody that's graduated from business school, congratulations, you graduated. Do you know how to start a company now? The answer is no, in most cases, So I think that the best way to get quality, affordable education is through online means, on websites like Udemy or go to my website for my MBA degree program. Plus, there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee for my courses on my website and my MBA degree program. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain, and you don't have to waste $100,000 over 4 years. So anyway, I think what COVID has done is it's kind of pulled forward my vision of the future by at least a decade, to the extent that a lot more people, for obvious reasons, are going to be learning online. I mean, a lot of great universities, like Notre Dame and Stanford, they're canceling class for the rest of the year because of COVID. And a lot of great companies are mandating that for at least one more year, like Google, all 200,000 employees, at least one more year you have to work from home. And if these great educational institutions don't have you on campus, what's the point? What's the point in doing distance learning with them when you can get a much more affordable education online and you can network aggressively, get what you want in life? You certainly can. You certainly can. So I think my last thing I'll say in this is that my vision of the future is I believe that only 50 universities are going to make it, and the rest will go belly up. And I think what's going to happen initially is the top 50 or so universities will survive because people want to pay a premium for those brand names. In fact, it'll probably be harder to get in to those top 50 universities. But I think the majority of the other ones will go bankrupt because they're antiquated and they're teaching you stuff that was maybe relevant last century in the 1900s. And what will happen is initially, of course, they'll dip into their endowment. And then there'll be a Hail Mary pass, and they'll call a bunch of that's a last-ditch effort, American football analogy. There'll be a last-ditch effort to contact alumni to bail them out. But I think for the most part, I think most large universities are going to go bankrupt, except for maybe the top 50 or so. Because people are going to say, well, if I'm going to go to school, I guess I'll go to one of the great ones. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah. So I think the system is rigged. I think the days of educational elitism are behind us. And I think you're only as good as your last game. And I really do believe that if you network aggressively, you can run circles around people that were born with silver spoons in their mouths, that went to these great universities. All right. All right. I'm just doing, give me 1 second, guys. That's my kid's school calling. They call and they leave voicemails about what's happening with classes. My kids are at home for the rest of the year. I'm in California, and it's been brutal. Like my kids had to sleep in my bedroom last night because there's fires everywhere. So what happened was we had thunder and lightning at 3:30 in the morning last Sunday morning, and that's the first time in my kid's lifetime actually that there was lightning. And then so a bunch of fires started, up in Napa Valley north of me, and down in Woodside just south of me. And so we have air conditioning in our room, in our bedroom, but nowhere else. And so it's easier to breathe that way. Even in here, I can smell it a bit, but I've got AC on. It's okay. And I went for a walk. I live in Hillsborough, California, which is right by the San Francisco airport. I went for a walk yesterday, and I actually saw a lot of. I got a bunch of ash on my iPhone as I was typing something on it. But God willing, we get through this quickly. Yeah. Oh, 2020, can you please be over? And maybe there'll be a cure for Corona in November. I'm one dumb comment away from destroying my life. I get it. I'm just kidding. I always say what's on my mind. Yeah. Transparency builds trust. Okay. Next up is Shubham is saying, the schedule template that you have, do you write on physical copies or do you use soft copies for your daily schedule? Yeah. So I like to actually write it out. It's a lot, I know, but it reinforces my goals. Because if you write down your goals every day, and I only do it during weekdays. If I did my daily schedule on the weekends, it would drive me nutty. But if you write down your goals every day and set a deadline date on that one pager that I provide you with, then the probability of you achieving those goes up materially. Now, what Shubham is referring to is if you go to my website, harouneducation.com, and you download, or just go to harouneducation.com/schedule, all lowercase, schedule, all lowercase. You can download a one-page template that many of my students use to plan their days. And 90% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the third week of January. And the reason is because they don't set a deadline date. So my one-pager makes you set deadline dates for your goals as well. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, what were your biggest goals in your 20s? And what reality checks did you get early on in your career? Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So when I was in my 20s, I was really insecure. I wanted to, I had this awful mindset, especially in my early and mid 20s, that I wanted to make a fortune. And once I make a fortune, then I'll start a family and get married and have kids. What a miserable existence that is. And I wasn't happy. You know, it's kind of like somebody saying, I want to work my ass off for 90% of my life so I can enjoy my last 10 years of my life playing golf or whatever it is when you retire. You know, you got to, I learned the hard way. You got to stop and smell the roses along the way. And I remember at one point, I was kind of down and out. And I was here and I went down to Monterey, a beautiful drive down the coast here in California. And I was stressed out and I took a day off and I walked through Monterey and I found this beautiful old wooden Catholic church. And this is not a religious thing, but I walked into the church and I sat down just to collect my thoughts. You know, I love writing down goals and stuff. And a priest came up to me and he said, "Is everything right, my son?" And I said to him, "You're not my dad." No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. I told him that I'm kind of stressed out because I want to make sure I make enough money or a lot of money to provide my kids with the best standard of living possible. And he said to me, "My son," and then I said, "You're not my dad. I already told you that." I'm sorry. No more dad humor, I promise. He said, "My son, your kids, when they look, my kids are here, my 3 sons, your kids in 50 years, when they look back upon you, they're not going to remember how much money you had. They're going to remember how good of a father were you, or are you, whatever, and were you there for them?" And that kind of changed me. That changed me. And I also read a book around the same time by the Dalai Lama that you should all read. It's called The Art of Happiness. And the Dalai Lama, he said that the problem with Western society is that we sacrifice our health, our entire lives in order to make money. And then at the end of our life, we sacrifice all of our money to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realize we never really lived to begin with. And so I'm being self-critical when I was in my 20s especially, and even into my 30s during certain years. I was so focused on acquiring wealth. And the cancer of Western society is that. Comparing yourself to those that have more. And the problem with Wall Street is that nobody is happy. And I'm a victim of this too. When I worked at Goldman, every Christmas bonus season, everyone was depressed because everybody's comparing themselves to those that made more. And the only time you should look in your neighbor's bowl is to see if they have at least as much as you do, if not more. You know, we're all in this together. And so nobody's happy. Nobody's happy on Wall Street. You think, oh my gosh, these people, they made it to Wall Street, they're happy, whatever. They're not. They're not. There's a lot of greed, and you can never make enough. That's the mentality. And I went through that, and that was a big problem with me. And I'm so glad I'm not doing that rat race anymore, because nobody is happy. It's disgusting, really. It is. It is. And it's interesting because you hear about a lot of billionaires or multimillionaires that get caught for insider trading, and they go to jail. And then you think to yourself, why the hell would they do that? I mean, they already had a lot of money. What's the point? Because it's never enough when you're making money your God. Don't make money your God, please. Money is the root of all evil. Of course, we need it to survive. I get it. I get it. But do what you're passionate about. Don't you want to be happy? The two most important days in your life, and see if I can show you the poster over here. You can't, unfortunately. Yeah, it got cut off. But I have a poster here from Mark Twain. That's another great one from Steve Jobs. Here's the Twain one. You'll see a little bit of it here. He said the two most important days in your life are, number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. What's your purpose? What's your passion? What was the reason you were put on this earth? Make your mark, make your dent in the universe, so to speak, by following your heart. Because I believe that if you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a couple times, and please fail more than at least a couple times. But if you chase your dreams, eventually they will come true if you're relentless enough. And I want you to be relentless. And you know what happens? Then the money follows accidentally. Nobody has ever reinvented an industry for the love of money. I mean, you look at Elon Musk. I mean, he's talking about colonizing Mars right now. But he doesn't care about money. He doesn't care. He just wants to make a difference and leave this world in better shape than when he entered it. And I think we can all learn a lot from him. Do what you're passionate about. Do what you love doing. And the way to know that you're doing what you love doing is if you wake up in the middle of the night, and usually when I used to work for other people, I would wake up in the middle of the night, I'd look at my alarm clock, and I'd say, oh, great, 3 more hours of sleep. But now I look at it, and I'm like, awesome, I'm going to get up now. I can't wait. I'm excited. It's Christmas morning every day for me. That's how you know you found your passion. Another way to know if you found your passion or purpose or raison d'être is if I tell you that you're not going to be working or going to school for the next 30 days and you're not allowed to travel, what would you do with your time? Whatever it is, that's your purpose, and that's what you should be doing in life, no matter what anybody else tells you. It's, as Steve Jobs said, I guess I'll use this poster now. Still hard to see. I'm really messing things up today. But he said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Do what you're passionate about in life. Follow your heart, and everything else will work out great. But just don't give a damn what people think of you and your career decisions. Don't be a prisoner in their mind, so to speak. You do you. You be you. Don't try to be somebody else. And I promise you, again, if you fail enough times, please fail a lot, all your dreams will come true and the money will follow accidentally. And nobody has ever made it to CEO or started a great company or put their mark on the entertainment or sports industry without failing many, many times first. Again, I've got this wonderful quote from Michael Jordan here about failure. You got to chase your passion. Don't give a damn what anybody thinks, and follow your heart. And I promise you, everything will work out in the long run. All right, next up, question from Shubham, which is, what are the course outcomes for doing your MBA degree? Yeah, so, I mean, after you're done with what Shubham is referring to is my MBA degree program, and I'll show it to you guys if you're curious. Yeah, so if you go to my website, HarounEducation.com, And this might change if you're watching a replay of this, but you can always click here and go to my online MBA degree programs. I've got 3 programs. One is the silver version, which is on demand. You can start it right now. And it's over 300 hours of brand new lessons using all my 4K cameras and that stuff for future proofing reasons. And you get a 30-day 100% money back guarantee, and you can start immediately. So that's that one, the silver version. And that's the price. And then there's the gold version, which starts every December and lasts 1 year. And that's over 300 hours of lessons as well. And way more than 200 hours of live Q&A like we're doing now. But I put my students on Zoom as well if they want to do Zoom calls during that. And then the last version, the premium version here, or the highest end tier, is the platinum program, which is this amount. And it's everything you see in the gold version, except you get several hours of one-on-one meetings with me, confidential meetings, either over secure Zoom or in person here in the Bay Area, if you live here or if you plan on visiting here. And so in terms of the deadline dates, the early admissions deadline's already passed. But I think the next deadline, let me just go right here. Yeah, for those that applied early, you'll find out by September 15th if you've been accepted. And then October 1st, October 15th is the general admission application deadline. And then there's waitlist November 1st or something like that too, which is listed there. But the outcomes are that you will understand how to manage your own money. Unlike in business school, they teach you how to manage other people's money. You'll also understand how to present better than anybody you know, and one presentation can change your life. And I really believe my methodology when it comes to teaching, because it's based on real life practical experience. I'll teach you how to start a company. There's a venture capital boot camp that I actually have in this program as well. And I've worked in venture capital for a long time, and I've been on boards of boot camps and all that stuff, and given speeches at Stanford University Graduate School of Business on this stuff. So I teach you based on my work experience and my successes and failures too, of course, to be intellectually honest. I also teach you finance and accounting on steroids, like in a really fun way, how to invest, how to pick stocks, and just everything in business that's relevant to make you successful. After every little topic I teach, I always ask myself 2 words. So what? How is the student benefiting? Can they apply this immediately or not? Yeah. So check it out. And there's also, and what you can actually do, let me actually show you right here. You can go into, let me go here. So you can go to learn.harounventures.com, and you can see all my courses here. Okay. And the current year is sold out, but if you click on this one here, okay, the one that says sold out, you can actually see samples of the current year and what the lessons are. We've done hundreds and hundreds of hours already, hundreds. And then I'm because it's the first year I'm putting up, I don't know, close to 6 hours of new content per week, Q&A, et cetera. I mean, the list is endless, but there's a lot of samples. Like, for example, here, I guess this is creating Apple's income statement. So my boss used to tell me when I worked at Goldman years ago that a clean desk. Yeah. So, and I have fun with it too. There's a lot of unfortunate dad humor, but you can go there and just get access to a lot of the free lectures if you're curious. So again, you go to learn.harounventures.com. And then when you're there, just click here on sold out. And there's tons of sample lectures in terms of what you're going to get yourself into, and it's a good thing. And I think I have a bunch of testimonials on my website as well. You can go there and navigate. If you have questions, just let me know, please. Thank you. Okay. Next up is Shubham is asking, what do you think of Tim Cook, not only as a successor to Jobs, but as the CEO of Apple, given that they're valued at $2 trillion today? Yeah, I think he's wonderful. I do. I think he was the right decision, the right choice, because he's an operator. He's an operator. I think he's a little bit less so of a motivator or salesperson that Steve Jobs was, because there's only one Steve Jobs, obviously. But I think he was the right choice. He was there for decades. He knows how to set up a supply chain, etc. So I think he's the right choice. Yeah, yeah. But I do believe that when a founder leaves a company and is no longer advising the company or involved at all, but when a founder leaves a company, innovation really doesn't progress as much as it should. And yeah, Apple is executed very well under Tim Cook, who's a great operator. However, there really hasn't been much innovation since Steve Jobs departed, and God bless him. But they've made a smaller iPhone, a bigger iPhone, a smaller iPad, a bigger iPad. They've made a new Mac Pro, which I have, is a cheese grater. It's awesome. It's quiet, except it gives off tons of heat, which is not cool because we're going through a big heat wave today. They made a watch which doesn't really have any killer apps. I enjoy my Apple Watch, but there's no killer app to it. They made Apple TV a little bit bigger with a little bit more storage, but there hasn't been anything groundbreaking since Steve Jobs has left the company. So I really do believe that I believe that when founders leave a company and are no longer engaged with the company, that innovation can kind of slow down a lot. It happens all the time. Yeah. Andrew Dupree is on the call. How are you, Andrew? Andrew was my very first student accepted to my MBA degree program. He's from Toronto. Great guy. And he's the inverse of me because he's an American from California living in Toronto. And I'm a Canadian from Toronto living in America and California. Yeah. But Andrew is saying the Haroun Education, and he's one of my platinum students. He's saying the Haroun Education Ventures MBA offers job-ready and life skills that motivate one to excel. And then Andrew said, I'm thrilled to be a Haroun MBA scholar. Thank you, Andrew. God bless you. I appreciate that. And we're so blessed to have you. So blessed. And we have actually in our first platinum program, 160 students started in the program. And then 2 asked for their money back within 30 days after December 2nd. And of the 158 students in the Platinum program, the 1-year program, they're from 41 different countries. And I feel like my students learn more from each other than they do from me. And Andrew always offers incredible insights. Thank you, Andrew. I'm thrilled to have you as well. John Klee, how are you? John is from Rochester. And he's helped me out a lot, actually. He's done a lot of part-time work for me on the side as well. I had this apply for jobs thing on my website a while ago, and he responded to it. He's great. So John's been on this weekly call with us for more than 50 weeks. And we're on week number 102 now. Yeah. So John is saying, hey, Chris, so I did get into an MBA program at the University of Rochester, and I start next week. I'm excited, but how should I make the most out of my experience? Should I join clubs, networking, etc.? Yeah, great question, and congrats. So what I would recommend is networking as much as you can, because what happens is for all of us that have gone to high school, university, whatever it is, in the first 2 weeks of school, those friends you make, those brand new friends, those are your friends for life. And it's easier to make friends in the first 2 weeks for some reason. Maybe it's because of orientation. I'm not sure. But I would network like crazy. And don't spend all your time studying. I would focus on networking a lot and just enjoying meeting people with different backgrounds and different life experiences. So that's what I would say, because I think the students that keep their heads down and try to get a 4.0 when it comes to business don't end up being as successful as those with lower grades. That's right. That at least went out and socialized a lot. So I would network as much as you possibly can and enjoy every second of it too. Lawrence, hey Lawrence. Lawrence is saying, hey Chris, hey Lawrence. Do you think traditional networking will be much less effective given COVID-19 fundamentally changes how people interact with each other? What's your advice for networking going forward? Yeah, that's a great question. And I get that a lot, actually. And I actually did a half-hour Ask Me Anything session with Udemy yesterday on their Instagram channel. So if you want, follow me on Instagram. It's at Chris Haroun. Or you can go to at Udemy, and you could see the interview I had yesterday. And I talked about networking, and I talked about how your network is your net worth. And I got the same question that you're mentioning right now. So I would say that during COVID, the best way to network is to set up Zoom meetings. You can do it, and hardly anybody is doing it. Hardly anybody. So there's less competition for you. And as I mentioned in yesterday's interview, what you have to do is you have to send out in-mails, do an advanced search in LinkedIn, and find people that have at least two things in common with you. Maybe they went to the same school as you, and maybe they're from the same hometown as you. And just ask them if they have time for a quick Zoom call. And if you imagine yourself 20 years in the future, and a 20-year younger version of you reached out to you with similar life experiences and asked for a meeting, would you say no? Of course not. Of course not. Now, not everybody's going to say yes. Not everybody. But it's like dating. You know, you just got to keep asking over and over and over and over again, and it will work out. It'll work out. But you got to be like Teflon. Just, be thick-skinned. Don't be sensitive if people don't respond to you. But it does work. I promise you. I promise you. And in the post-COVID world, I think that networking is going to be similar to the way it was in the pre-COVID world, without touching. So I think shaking hands is done. When I go to Japan, I used to go there a lot on business. When I worked at Goldman and when I worked at Citadel in the hedge fund industry, and I remember meeting executives, and we would exchange business cards. We never shook hands, and we would say "Hajime mashite," and then you'd read the business card slowly for a couple seconds, and then put it very nicely on the table. You don't write on it. You don't throw it in your wallet. It's a sacred thing. But I think that that's going to be the norm going forward. Just bowing or waving or something like that, or air high fives. And I don't think that people are going to be using business cards anymore. I think, and business cards is such an old school thing. I think what's going to happen is people will just connect with each other after that meeting on LinkedIn. That's it. Yeah. So, yeah. But I think things will get back to normal. The new normal, at least, will be no touching, no hugging, that sort of thing. So, yeah. And it's interesting because you look at professional sports right now, and I'm a huge baseball fan. I usually have my baseball around here somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, and I'm really happy that Major League Baseball is playing right now. It's a great distraction for all of us. God bless them. However, there are many instances of 10 or 15 people on a team getting COVID. And so they've had to actually postpone a ton of games. It's eerie. When I turn on Apple TV to watch, and I open up the MLB app to watch my Toronto Blue Jays play in America only, unfortunately, they're not allowed to play in Canada. But when I watch it, sometimes it says postponed, and not because of rain or weather, but because of COVID. So I think watching how Major League Sports deal with this is ultimately how society is going to deal with it, unless there's a cure. God willing, there's a cure. Yeah. Okay. Next up is Emily. Emily is saying, I need to prepare a short stock pitch for an interview, and I'm having a hard time. I was thinking that Barnes & Noble would be a good secular short, but I then realized it was taken private last year. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah. And I remember I was short Barnes & Noble years ago. I think it was in 2008 when I got my first Kindle, the ugly white one. Remember the old, big, bulky Kindle in the summer of 2008. And then I was short Barnes & Noble. I think the ticker was B&N. And they tried to come up with their own version of the Kindle. It didn't work out as well. Yeah. But I would say in general, when you're looking at shorts, and for those of you not familiar with shorts, what shorts means is, so when you buy a stock, you're long a stock. Like in football, you're long a stock, right? You're in it for the long run. You're hoping it's going to go up. A short is the opposite of that. You're betting against a stock, and if it goes down, you make money. But when you look for shorts, what I recommend doing, and I don't recommend anybody short, by the way, because if the stock goes up to infinity, your losses are technically infinite. If you want to bet against a company, maybe buy a put. And a put is an option, and it costs you this much. And if it goes down, you make money. If it goes up, you just lose this much. That's it. But when you're looking at shorts, be really, really careful in terms of how crowded shorts are. And there's something called the short interest ratio, SIR, the short interest ratio. And I would never short stocks that had a short interest ratio of over 10. Let me explain what a short interest ratio is. A short interest ratio means you take the number of shares that people are short, and you can get that data, and you divide it by the average daily trading volume. So if a stock trades, let's say, $1 million per day, okay, that's the volume, and there's 10 million shares that are short, the short interest ratio is 10 million divided by 1 million, which is 10, which means there's 10 days worth of volume that needs to be covered until there's no more shorts out there in that stock. And the problem with that is that heavily shorted stocks become crowded very quickly. You know, the hedge fund mafia, it's like the Walking Dead. They all follow each other. That's one of the reasons they're in secular decline. And many hedge funds are going belly up this year. But what happens is if a stock is heavily shorted and has a short interest ratio of over 10 days, if slightly less bad news comes out on a stock or good news, whatever, then they all panic. And it becomes self-fulfilling. That covering begets more covering, meaning people reversed along the short position, and it goes up a lot. And that's why sometimes when the market's doing well, really crappy stocks go up a lot because of that, because they become crowded shorts. And I humbly believe that people should not short stocks. Buy puts if you want to, but just be very, very, very long-term focused when you make your investments, and only buy when it feels uncomfortable. What does that mean? Well, only buy when there's blood in the streets, so to speak, or everybody else is panicking. You know, as Warren Buffett said, you want to be fearful when others are greedy, and you want to be greedy when others are fearful. Otherwise, what happens is this. Let's say that everybody loves stock X. You know, the ticker for X is US Steel, but just pretend it's X, just a variable. Let's say everybody loves stock ticker X, and everybody owns it. Everyone loves it. Oh, the media is saying great things about it. Everybody owns it. So what makes a stock go up? Usually it's new investors buying at a higher valuation or at a higher price, you know, pushing it up, whatever, or existing investors buying more. So if everybody owns a stock and everyone loves a stock, who's the incremental investor to push it a lot higher? So what I love to do is I love to buy broken stocks, but not broken companies. And when everyone else is panicking, I buy. So I was buying a lot back in March of this year. And if you're watching the replay, the year is 2020. And I'm selling a lot now. Yeah. So you just got to be a contrarian and be incredibly unemotional as well when you invest. Yeah. Okay. Jose, how are you, bud? Jose is one of my amazing students from Venezuela originally, but he lives now with his wife and daughter in Brooklyn. He is an expert in offshore drilling as well as the payments industry, and he inspires me. Good to see you, buddy. And for those of you wondering about, like you might see in the background here, this clock. So today, after this office hours is done at 11, I then do 2 hours of office hours for my MBA degree students in the Gold and Platinum program. And then I do one-on-ones for 20 minutes, and they're confidential one-on-ones. What I do is I just, this clock here, I hit this, and it counts down. So anyway, that's why I have that up there, if you're curious. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to seeing you, Jose, in office hours as well for the MBA students as well as one-on-ones, if I have one with you today. Yeah. Fabio is saying, hello, Prof. Welcome back. Even if 1 week later. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's fun. I can't believe this is week number 102. It's unbelievable. I remember the first week, there's nobody on the call at first. And I had to, each week for the first couple of weeks, I had to kind of come with a script or prepare something to say for filler, you know. just in case, but it's getting better. I'm still making mistakes. You'll see that this is a little bit crooked here. It's not perfect, but as Salvador Dali said, if you aim for perfection, you'll never reach it. Okay. And that's why I believe in releasing minimum viable products, or MVPs, as they call it in the tech worlds. So Fabio is saying, hello, Prof. Welcome back. Thank you. And then you said, I would like to ask this question. Do you think it makes sense to invest as a value investor in an early stage company that you perhaps do not have a lot of money, and change the strategy in the future and invest in growth investors, given usually stock prices for growing companies might be high? Yeah. So, and then you wrote here, thank you as always. You're just great. Thank you. And you wrote, P.S. I applied for your gold MBA degree program. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Thank you. So I think that, so let me explain. So the question is, should I invest as a value investor in startups and then become a growth investor later? So let me explain the difference. So value investment means you like to buy stuff that's cheap, that's very cash flow positive, and quite often trading at a price to book ratio of 1 or less. Okay. And value investors are very, very long-term focused. And the best value investor in history, of course, is Warren Buffett. On the other end of the spectrum is a growth investor. And a growth investor is somebody that doesn't give a damn about how expensive a stock is today, because they're buying the stocks that's growing quickly, and that stock can probably make a lot more money in the future if they grow quickly. It's a different mentality. And so a growth investor might think, and has thought for years with Amazon, hey, Jeff Bezos, I don't want you to be too profitable yet. I want you to hire more salespeople and create new media products online, grow Amazon Web Services, and you can be profitable in the future. Whereas a value investor thinks, no way, man, don't hire as many salespeople, don't grow as quickly, be cheap. And it's contentious. It's like politics or religion. You know, if you're a growth investor, you don't understand value investors, and vice versa usually. And usually most young people in university that study finance are value investors because they're kind of taught, you know, hey, buy low, sell high. And they're taught how to value companies based on metrics with too many unknown variables like discounted cash flow, et cetera. Growth like for me personally, I was a value investor when I was an undergrad at McGill University. And then later on, when I went to Columbia for my MBA and I worked on Wall Street in the hedge fund industry, I became a growth investor. And then when I worked in venture capital, I was certainly a growth investor. I think it's tough to be a value investor and invest in early stage companies that are just being birthed, so to speak, or just getting started. Because early stage companies, for the most part, and yes, there are always exceptions, early stage companies are not profitable. In fact, a lot of times, companies that are venture capital backed that go public aren't profitable for the first 2 years or so post IPO. So it's a different mentality. But I think if you're going to invest in early stage companies, it's really hard to be a value investor because most early stage companies are not cash flow positive and they're not profitable. Yeah. Okay. And if I missed anybody's questions in between, please just post it again. And by the way, if you post an internet link, what happens is YouTube will block that for, I don't know why, but that's what they do. So if you want to mention an internet link, then spell it out. So instead of typing in www.cnn.com, just type CNN space DOT.com. Yeah. Kunal is saying, good morning, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Likewise. Great to have you, bud. Next up, we have Kim. Kim is saying, hi, Chris. Hope you're having a great week. Likewise. My query for this week is below. Regarding a spare bedroom, now used as a home office during COVID, what recommendations do you have to reduce sound, meaning calls, online meetings, transferring to other parts of the home, etc.? I cannot make it a studio like yours, as the office is still used as a spare bedroom, and vents and drywall carry sound much more than other types of building material like bricks. Yeah. Let me show you a couple of tips. So The first thing I recommend in order to improve the sound in a room is to buy curtains. And I'm going to speak louder because my microphone's here. But over here, and you can get these on Amazon. And these curtains block the sound and the light. And they're quite cheap as well, really cheap. And I'll show you the other side of it. So this is the outdoors. And I can hear crickets a little bit and birds because the door is open and because the curtains are here. But if I close the curtains, even with the door opened, I don't really hear as much. A little bit, obviously, but not as much. These are great curtains. They block the lights and they also block sound. Yeah, so let me just close this. It is a beautiful day. However, I just smelled a bit of smoke outdoors because there's fires north of us and south of us as well. So that's the first step that I recommend. Another step is, and let me see, I wasn't planning on using my overhead camera, but I guess I will. Okay, that's my backup microphone. Hey there, that's my hand. Raise your hand if you understand. I don't know if I'll be able to show this to you, but let me see if I can turn this around. Yeah, so what I have up on the ceiling, this will be tough to see, and I'll open up, actually what I'll do is I'll open up the, that's a light there. I'll open up the drapes here a bit. Okay, just to let in a bit of light. Is that working? Yeah. So on the ceiling, you see those tiles? Those are sound blockers, okay? And I also, and I know you probably don't want to do this on your walls, but I also have them back there. So that's what I see behind the scenes there. It's freaking me out. What? Oh, I see her. That's right. That monitor's on up there. That's freaking me out. Yeah. But you can see I've got some of them on the back wall there as well. It's tough to see. Tough to see. But let me show you. Actually, let me switch to another camera now. You don't have to have them everywhere, but I recommend having some of them. And so. Ignore that box, but you can also buy these on Amazon, okay, or anywhere online, these blockers. And then you don't have to put them up everywhere, just put a couple on the wall. Or what you can do is you can put these on hooks and hang them on the wall. Or wherever you have a picture on the wall, you can actually take that picture down and mount this on a board and put this on the wall as well. They don't have to be everywhere. Whoops. All right, hold on. I'm having problems with that camera. I got to refocus. Give me 1 second here. It happens sometimes. Okay. There we go. I think that's good. The autofocus doesn't always work perfectly. Okay, we're back now. Good. All right. And what you can also do is, and by the way, if you're curious, the reason I have this is because when I use my pedals and I'm recording, sometimes I'll use my pedals to change slides. In my teleprompter, I map pedals to be left and right, just like PowerPoint. But I'll actually put my feet in the box here. I created this sort of, and I'll throw this on top as well. And I'll put the pedal, hey there, right down here, attached to my computer. But what you can also do is you can make something like this for a microphone. And you put it in front of your microphone right here, and then you put the microphone inside here if you want. And you can actually buy something like this on Amazon. I think they're $20. And then you put the microphone in the box, and then there's less sound. Like you probably, it should be blocking out the air conditioning a little bit here, which is moronic. You wouldn't do it that way because unless you're just doing an audio call. And what I actually did for my complete financial analyst course online on Udemy, what I did was I recorded a lot of the screen recording stuff when I was showing people how to use Excel at my parents' house in Mississauga, Canada. And I used a bunk bed I used when I was a kid there. And I hung blankets all around the bunk bed. And I went inside and there was no echo. The sound quality was perfect. It was perfect. So that's what I recommend. What you can also do is you can buy these products that are a couple of these things curved, okay? And you'll see professional musicians use it as well. And you can put it right here and even put it down below your camera a bit. And that will help to block out some of the sound as well. That's what I recommend, yeah. But it's really tough getting perfect sound. And if you, like this one is great here because I had to be close to it, but there's a lot of background noise you can't hear. Now I use a Blue Yeti as well, which is the one that's up here, and this is going to be the dumbest camera angle ever. Let me turn it around here. Oops. There you go. That's my Blue Yeti right there, okay? And this one here, it's a backup mic. And Blue Yetis are great because they're pretty simple to use and they work. But the problem is they take sound from everywhere. And you can change the settings as well. There's something called cardioid mode, which basically only takes the sound from here, but you still hear the background noise. So yeah, those are some hacks that I think work. Okay. All right. And hold on a second here. It jumps on me sometimes, so hold on a second. Wow, man, there's just a ton of questions. I feel bad because I can't get through them all. All right, hold on a second. I lost my spot. YouTube jumps on you sometimes. So give me 1 second. I'll do a search for, I think it was Kim, right? Control F, Kim. Whoops. Find Kim. Where are we here? All right. Give me a second, guys. I'm so sorry. Oh, here we go. Okay, I found it. Good. All right. Next up, Mr. Unknown is saying, hello, Chris. What do you think about a career in mobile game development? And what is your favorite PC and mobile games? Thank you. Yeah. I think what Apple is doing with Fortnite is not fair at all. And it's unfortunate because, and by the way, if you haven't seen that Fortnite commercial, the George Orwellian 1984 commercial, which is a play on Apple's Super Bowl commercial from 1984, do a search for it. Fortnite 1984 commercial. You'll love it. You'll love it. Because Apple's becoming too powerful now. And I think Apple should be broken up. And I think Google should be broken up. Because Google owns, the biggest search engine, which is Google, and the second biggest search engine, which is YouTube. And what's happened with Android, as well as with iOS, is innovations when it comes to games has grinded to a halt. There's no more innovation. It sucks. And I remember when the iPad came out in 2010, and the iPhone a couple of years before that, every week or so there was an amazing new game that would come out, and my kids and I would download it and play together. I would read my kids a bedtime story, say prayers, and before we went to bed, we'd always play a brand new game, like Where's My Water, Cut the Rope, Angry Birds, and Field Runners 1 and 2, my favorite tower defense games. And then what happened was innovation just stopped, and people stopped making games. And to make matters worse, what Apple did was they created this $5 per month arcade service where they give you a ton of games and you pay a $5 subscription fee. And that's monopolistic. That's not fair. That's not fair. So anyway, I think that there's not enough competition anymore in the gaming market, especially when it comes to mobile games. I mean, there's a handful that do extraordinarily well, like Clash of Clans, whatever. But for the most part, most of these, there's no innovation. It sucks. It sucks. So I think it's tough in the mobile game market. I really, really do. I do. I would say if you're going to make a product for one platform, try to make it for many. Be platform agnostic, if you possibly can. Yeah. Yeah. But in terms of my favorite PC and mobile games, well, for me, it's Clash of Clans. I've been playing it for years with my kids. And in the summer of 2017, we went to Israel, and it was awesome. And in order to get my kids to enjoy the trip more so, I said, why don't we download a game together and play that has old archaeology or castles or whatever it is. And so we downloaded that game, and I still play every day. It's fun, man. I play with my kids. I love it. So that's what I play. Aside from that, I play RBI Baseball. The latest version is amazing on the iPad and the iPhone. And on in terms of my PC games, I don't really do it that much. I might buy a gaming PC just to play a modded out version of GTA 5 because it looks amazing. Although you can't do online with that. And I'm playing The Last of Us right now on my PS4, which scares the hell out of me. Like when I play it at night, I have to leave the lights on. It's scary, man. Yeah. So there's that. Red Dead Redemption on my Xbox. I'm still playing. I love it. Yeah. So and I'm actually doing a case study on Nintendo. So I'm doing a little bit of research on that Mario Maker 2 game for my students in my Mba Degree Program. And for those of you that haven't seen the breaking news video I made, just go to my YouTube channel on the homepage. Just the first video you'll see, it's a pretend breaking news thing of Apple potentially buying Nintendo. And I interview people from McKinsey and other firms in that pretend video. Check it out if you want to. I had fun with it. Yeah. Next question is, Chris, do you believe in astrology and fate? Do you practice yoga or meditation? Yeah. So I do meditation. I have the Calm app on my iPhone, which I like. Yeah. And I do meditate daily. But I don't do it sitting up like a lot of people do. I do it when I wake up. And so when I wake up, I practice gratitude. And I'm not allowed to get out of bed until I thank God for 10 things. And I always do it in this order here. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, Christine, my wife, my mom, my dad, my brother, Jamie, my sisters, Katie, and Elizabeth. And I reverse these all the time, I promise you, if you guys are watching. And my students, you. Thank you. So I do practice gratitude a lot. Yeah. Next up, Albus is saying, hi, Chris. Hey, Albus. How do we determine what % stake of the company we should give away to the venture capitalists or angel investors? Yeah, that's a great question. So just understand that if you're going to go down the path of getting money from venture capitalists, that by the time your company goes public, you will almost definitely own well under 50%. But you'll be worth a lot more if that's important to you. But you'll get diluted a lot. So just understand that and make sure that you only get founder-friendly venture capitalists or angel investors to invest. And make sure that you do your background checks, if you have that luxury, on your potential investors. Because unlike like a bad marriage, people get divorced. It is what it is. But you can't get rid of a bad board member. You know, when somebody invests a lot of money in your company, quite often they have a fiduciary duty or a fiscal responsibility to report back to their investors how their investment in you and your company is doing. And so they'll join your board. And if they're a thorn in your side at every board meeting 4 times per year, once every 3 months, it makes your life hell. Yeah. So just be really, really careful with that. But in general, the way it works is when an investor approaches you or vice versa, you then, it's like you're dating and you have to meet a bunch of times first before you get married, or it is what it is. And then it's kind of like there's something called a term sheet. And a term sheet is a non-binding legal contract. And it's like 10 or 15 pages. And the term sheet just determines what the terms are of their investment in you, in your company. And you need to decide with them how to appropriately value your company. And the best way to value your company is to create a financial model, which I teach in my MBA degree program, and figure out how much money, revenue-wise and earnings-wise, longer term your company could make. And then you put on a valuation multiple based on similar companies. And then you discount that back until today. And you never want to value your company too high in the early stages. Otherwise, you'll be walking dead. You won't be able to raise more money. I'll give you an example. Let's say you just started a company. And let's say somebody approaches you and says, I'm going to give you $1 million right now for your company, not for you, for your company. And I want to own 1% of your company. Let's say you strike that deal. So if $1 million equals 1%, that means the company is valued at $100 million. If you do that and you own 99% of the company, on paper, you might think, wow, man, I'm worth $99 million. But that's not the right way to do it, because what will happen is you'll never be able to raise more money. Because if you raise more money, other investors won't want to give you money at a valuation above $100 million unless you have a cure for cancer. And your existing investor, the one that invested $1 million, won't agree to you raising more money. Because if you want to raise more money, you're going to have to raise it at a much lower valuation. So I always recommend setting the valuation low, but not too low. It's more of an art than a science at times. But I recommend setting the valuation low initially, yeah. And in terms of valuing your company, you got to look at similar companies in your industry and create a financial model, which I teach in my Mba Degree Program, to discern, what the valuation should be for your company. But I always recommend erring on the low side, meaning undervalue your company, so that you'll be able to raise more money in future rounds, because doing a down round is sometimes terminal. Yeah. All right. And Unknown is asking, do you think being a front-end web developer is a lucrative career in the present and upcoming future? Yeah. I mean, I kind of think of front-end web developers as being artists. And there's definitely an art to it. And I've had a lot of problems with my website. I designed a lot of it myself. I had somebody help, but I'm just not artistic in that nature. And so I'm hiring a firm to do it now, to redo my website. Yeah, you can't just do it alone all the time. I mean, you can use brochureware or different templates, I should say, within Squarespace or Wix or whatever it is. But you can't just survive and scale a company by using templates. You have to customize it. And user design is important, really, especially when it comes to landing pages, which is something I'm learning about a lot with my funnel and my active campaign, email campaign, and all that stuff to get customers. It is lucrative, and I think it'll always be. It'll always be. And when you think of web development front end, it doesn't just have to be for desktop, but you got to design for mobile as well. Mobile is and has been for ages the new desktop. Yeah. All right, next question is from Asanga, who's saying, hi, Chris. Hey, man. Regarding the MBA program, I know that there's 3 versions of the program. When it comes to on-demand video content only, are they all the same? For example, does Platinum have more on-demand videos than the others? No. So all 3, and let me explain it really quickly. So let me go here. Okay. So the way it works, and this is just on my website, HarounEducation.com. So this chart explains it best. This has the silver version has over 300 hours of lessons. So does the gold. So does the platinum, right? So you get the same 300 core lessons. But in the silver version, you get several hundred hours of live Q&A. Or pardon me, in the gold version. Let me start again. The silver version, you get 300 hours, over 300 hours of lessons on demand. The gold version, you get the same thing you get in silver, but you also get several hundred hours of live Q&A like this or using Zoom. And the platinum version, you get everything you get in the gold version, plus several hours of one-on-one meetings with me in person or over Zoom, whatever you want to do. In person if you visit or live in the Bay Area. Yeah. So that's how it works. But the core curriculum, the over 300 hours of lessons, is identical in all three. And this one here, silver, you can start today. These ones you have to apply because they start every December. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, if you have more questions, please let me know. And thank you. All right, let me see if the focus is working on this camera. Hold on a second. Let's see if autofocus is working. Give me 1 second, guys. Almost ready. All right, there we go. I think we're good. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. Oh, it's getting cold in here, man. All right, next question is... hold on a second, sorry. There we go, good. Okay, and one of the reasons I use this microphone and not a Blue Yeti anymore is because you can't hear the air conditioning as much with a microphone like this. This is called a Shure SMB, and Joe Rogan or Seth Rogen, that guy, he uses this too. Yeah. All right. Next up is, Chris, how do I excel as an investment banker? So initially, when you work, and for those of you that don't know much about investment banking basically means you're hired by big companies to take them public on the stock market for an initial public offering, or to help them buy other companies or be acquired, which is M&A, which stands for mergers and acquisitions. So initially, when you join an investment bank, it's hellish, and I have a lot of friends that hate it, and their happiest day is the first day, and they all brag about how much money they make, but they make just as much money as everybody else does per hour, but they work 8 gazillion hours per week. But initially, it's very administrative. It's using PowerPoint to create pitch decks to pitch ideas to management teams. You know, like, let us do your IPO pitches, or let us help you with M&A. So a lot of it is it's just basic administrative stuff. And then eventually, it doesn't matter if you have a Harvard MBA. It doesn't matter. Like, you'll still be treated like a grunt, and you'll be told to just make PowerPoint presentations, whatever it is. And then eventually you'll also do some Microsoft Excel stuff, financial modeling. So I would say be excellent at financial modeling and understand how to use Excel better than anybody you know. And there's plenty of online courses you can take. You can take my complete financial analyst course, because I teach you Excel as well as finance in that course. Then what happens is, in order to make partner or to get promoted to the more senior ranks in investment banking, you have to be a great salesperson. That's what a partner is in a law firm, a venture capital firm, an investment bank, or a CEO in any company. You're a great salesperson. And so networking skills are paramount. So what I would say is, you can go to my website, HarounEducation.com, and download this networking book for free, because this will teach you a lot about networking. And eventually what happens is, so CEOs are great salespeople, and so are great entrepreneurs. And you'll never make it to very, very senior rank or the top in a big company without learning how to bring in business, how to sell. You know, it's the most important skill set in business. Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to show you. So I have a template on how to write a book. You can go to HarounEducation.com/write book, all lowercase, write book, all one word. And I've written lots of books. And I have a lot of students that have written books too. And I always buy them. You can't send them to me. I have to buy them because I want to support you. And so I have a student, actually one of my platinum students in my Mba Degree Program. Her name is Fanny, but she goes by Christina Chin with her book, which she just wrote. It's called The Misadventure of Edward Wei. And it's a book of fiction. And Christina, thank you. I'm very humbled that you mentioned me at the beginning there. Thank you. God bless you. But congratulations. It feels great when you write a book, and anybody can write a book. Anybody can do it. Just download my template from my website, HarounEducation.com/write book. All one word, all lowercase. And imagine bringing a book that you wrote to a job interview. Imagine that. Or to a sales meeting with a potential customer. Anybody can do it. It's free. It's free to do as well. And you can learn by going to my website and downloading my template for free at HarounEducation.com/write book. Nobody does this. Hardly any people do. But if you show up to a job interview and bring a book you wrote, or if you apply to a university and send in a book you wrote, or if you go to meet with a potential customer or a networking meeting or a business partner and you bring a book, that will kind of set you light years ahead of the competition. Yeah. So, and anybody can do it. And congratulations, Christina or Fanny. Yeah. So, great job. Okay. Next question is regarding the MBA program, the silver version. I'm not referring to extra Q&A hours and extra one-on-one meetings with you, but I'm referring to the context hours. Also, I remember you said you're going to 3 hours on-demand video too program each week. So that is the total hours of on-demand content for all MBA degree versions. And then you wrote, sorry about the long write. No, no worries at all, please. Yeah. So I would go to my homepage, harouneducation.com. And then scroll down, there's a nice chart that shows you the difference. But the 300 hours or so of on-demand content is the same in all 3 versions. I just offer hundreds of hours of live Q&A in the gold version. In the platinum version, I also offer hundreds of hours of live Q&A using Zoom or doing what we're doing right here. Plus, in the platinum version, I offer several hours of one-on-one meetings in person or over Zoom. Yeah. And Albus is saying, how do we come up with sales estimates for a startup? Yeah. So it's hard initially because you're probably just developing the product right now or the service. But what I would do is I would take my complete business plan course because I teach you how to write a business plan from scratch and how to create a financial model from scratch in 9 hours without any prior experience at all in finance. Or you can take my MBA degree program. I do it in much, much more detail as well with a higher end version of my business plan template as well. So it depends when you're thinking about sales though, because you're either a services firm, meaning you charge by the hour for each employee, or you're selling a product. So if you're selling yourself, meaning you're a consultant, or you're billing people out per hour, then I would just look at the number of hours per year or per day or whatever it is that you're billing out, and then look at the ASP or average, or look at the price you pay each one of your employees. I'm not doing a good job of this, man. I'll give you a real example. Let's say you start a consulting firm, and you're billing out consultants that work for you at $100 per hour. I would just calculate the number of hours that you think they're going to bill over 3, 6, 12 months, whatever it is, times the price that you're billing them out at. Now, if it's a product-oriented company and you're selling, I don't know, a product like this, for example, then I would just look at the average selling price that you plan to sell this at times the units. That's what I recommend. Yeah. And if you're going to make a product, please don't create it and then sell it. What I want you to do is I want you to sell it and then create it. And a lot of great companies do this. You know, like Amazon, for example. And this is a book one of my amazing platinum students wrote. But when I ordered this book from Christina Chin, when I ordered it from Amazon, it wasn't made yet. It wasn't even printed. And I can look here at the date it was made. It was printed in Moni, Illinois on August 12, 2020. So it was created after I paid for it, after I bought it. And the same thing with Dell Computers. Michael Dell, in his dorm room in Texas back in the 80s, he started Dell Computer. And the crux and brilliance of that business model is that you order your computer online and then they make it. So there's no cash issues. You're basically financing the production. And I love that approach because that way you'll never have inventory issues. And there's a lot of companies that have gone belly up. They've gone bankrupt from having too much inventory. It's true. The entire video game industry in the early 80s went belly up because of one game. And this was in the pre-Nintendo 8-bit days. What happened was there's this great movie we've all seen called E.T. And the Atari 2600, 1 year, their killer product was going to be an E.T. video game. And they made tons of them, so many of them, and it was a disaster. It was the worst game ever. And so what they did was they literally had to bury hundreds of thousands of those copies in the desert to get rid of that inventory. And you can Google it or YouTube it. You'll see videos on it. It's a fascinating story. But that destroyed the video game industry in the 80s. You know, great companies like Atari, ColecoVision, Intellivision, they did very well until there's too much inventory. And then they all sort of went belly up. And Coleco, by the way, I had to look it up. Coleco stands for the Connecticut Leather Company. It's the same company that made ColecoVision and Cabbage Patch Dolls, etc. Yeah. But inventory can destroy your business model. So if you're going to sell a product, please try to sell it first and then make it. Next question is, what is the most important thing you've learned in your life? Yeah. So for me, it's to follow your heart and not give a damn what other people think of you and your career decisions or what you wear or anything about you at all. I'm not saying to be rude or disingenuous, but just be yourself. It's too hard to be anybody else. And as Dr. Seuss said, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Just be you. Just be you. And, what happened with me was, I remember when I was younger and I was in school, I would laugh so hard until it hurt with my buddies. I would fall down and laugh. Oh my God, I laughed so hard as a kid until it hurt. Remember those days? And then I started working for other people and I just wasn't myself. And I wasn't laughing as much as I was when I was younger. And it's because when you're younger, you just don't give a damn what people think of you. I don't know, you're a little kid, you have fun. My kids laugh uncontrollably. I laugh with them uncontrollably at the same humor. And they're more mature than I am now. But I remember when I was younger, I was like that. And then I started working and I just wasn't myself. Don't give in to the corporate lobotomy that you create in your own mind, so to speak. Just be yourself. And when you work at a big company and you're not yourself, and you change around senior executives lose respect for us. And your colleagues certainly do. But if you're just yourself, and not too political, people will respect you a lot more and you'll be happier. And it's easier being you because everybody else is taken. Okay, next up is Fausto, who's saying, how far should we go to keep equity? Equity seems the most scarce resource we have when we start a company. And for those of you not familiar with equity, equity means ownership. So replace the word equity with own. How much do I own? How much equity do I have? So you wrote here, it seems the one new entrepreneurs are willing to use the most to get support. Yeah. So how much equity should you give up is the question. Yeah. So I hate to say it depends and sound like a freaking lawyer, but it does. It does. It depends how big you want your company to be. Like for me, I'll never do an IPO. And I own 100% of my company, parent company, and I always will. But if I wanted to grow and make this $1 trillion business or whatever, I'd probably have to raise money from others. And in order to make it a massive, massive company, I would have to give up control of the company. Almost no entrepreneur on the planet, it's very rare for them to do an IPO and own more than 50% of the company. So I would say the bottom line in terms of this, thinking about how much equity you should give away, it depends how big you want your company to be and how much control you want to give up. And I used to work in big companies and I didn't like working for other people. I worked for great people for the most part, but I just wasn't happy. I kind of felt like I don't know, it's like Orwellian, like the thought police. Like I don't want to be told how to be or think or whatever it is. And so, when I started my company, and I've started lots of them, I don't want to be subject to the board. I don't want a board to tell me how I can or can't run my company. I want to be independent. And I don't give a damn if that means that I leave a lot of money on the table. I don't care. It just depends what your priorities are. And I recommend you take my complete business plan course or take my MBA degree program because I will help you walk through and architect your business model from scratch. And failing to plan is planning to fail. And most people don't write a business plan. But you have to do it before you start a company. It's the most important career decision you'll ever make. So anyway, you can check out that course of mine or sign up for my MBA degree program, both of which have 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. Next question is, which roles are good to pay with equity and which one should we try to get money to pay for? Yeah, it depends what your balance sheet looks like. Like for me, I pay all my employees, and all my business partners as well, and I outsource a lot of stuff. I do have one employee, Matt Lacousse. He's great, and I've given him equity in my MBA degree program. He's certainly more than earned it. He's a partner, but he's the only one for now that I've given equity to. Yeah, yeah. But what happens is, and I pay him a salary too, of course. And he's amazing. But what happens is, a lot of times when companies are founded, they don't have a budget to pay a lot of employees if they want to get big. So what they do is they pay a very small base salary, and they just give shares to the employees. And they give shares by creating shares out of thin air. Literally, that's what options are. Which means that other investors get diluted as well. Yeah. And usually there are golden handcuffs in place in startups and in publicly traded companies. Because what happens is every year in a lot of startups and a lot of publicly traded companies, you're given stock options, meaning here are some shares, but you can't sell them except in 4 years. So I'm giving you shares today, and you have to wait 4 years before you can cash them in, right? And that's called when they vest, when you can cash them in. And every year you're given shares, but you can only cash in those shares, the new ones you get every 4 years. So it's like a waterfall effect. So if I quit today, I'm leaving money on the table from my shares that are going to vest, or I can cash in a couple of years from now. And that's called golden handcuffs. Avi Pro, oh dude, it's been a while, man. It's been a while. So Avi Pro is from, I think you're from Sweden, and you're a pilot too. I remember that. Yeah, and I remember you know a lot about technology. It's been a long time, man. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. You wrote here, Chris, it's been a while since I've had the chance to join in. I hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, buddy. Likewise. And I hope you and your son and your family are doing great. Awesome. Thank you. And I bet you're checking out the new flight simulator. I remember you're a techie as well, right? I remember that. You understand Linux. You asked about that once, ages ago, maybe a year or two ago. But you're probably checking out the new flight simulator. Yeah. And Avinash is saying, where do I start for students enrolled in a master's of business? Let me see if I can I don't know how to answer that. I guess the best advice I can give you if you're enrolled in a master's program is to understand that relationships are more important than product knowledge. And I wouldn't just keep your head down and try to get the best grades and everything. I would network a lot as well, because your network is your net worth. And the sooner we realize that in business, the better off we'll all be. It's true. It's true. If you just keep your head down and do a good job in a company, whatever, you're not going to get a raise or promotion. You have to ask. And you're not going to figure out how the corporate culture works unless you network to find mentors or Yodas, so to speak. So networking is really, really important, and probably more important than the stuff you'll learn in business school anyway. Business is about relationships first and product knowledge second. You got to bond before business always. Next question is, any books for a beginner with a non-financial background subjects? Yeah. I don't think there's any great finance books that you should read. I think you're best learning you're best learning by reading the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal to learn how the world works, because a lot of the finance books are really dry, to be honest. There's a couple that are great. There's one written by Howard Shillett, who used to run the Center for Forensic Accounting, and it's called Financial Shenanigans. And Howard, I was one of his clients on Wall Street for years. Great guy. He used to write these CFRA reports, or Center for Forensic Financial Research something reports about firms, and whenever he wrote them, they were great short ideas for me. Yeah. So I would check that out. Aside from that, it's tough. It's tough. Like whenever I go into the office of somebody I respect a lot that's very successful, I usually look on their bookshelf to see what books they have. if they have any. It's tougher these days for obvious reasons because of ebooks. And I spent a half hour one day talking to Ken Griffin when I worked at Citadel. He's the founder, and we had a great conversation. Brilliant guy, man, amazing, good guy too. But I looked at his bookshelf, and he had this book by Damadorian, who's a professor at NYU in finance. So maybe check that out as well. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Aside from that, there are value investing books that you can read as well, but they're really, really dry. Like The Intelligent Investor, like Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett, he lives it, man. He lives it. But like, for example, he taught one of my classes at Columbia. He came in as a lecturer one day, and he was there with, and this is back in late 99 or early 2000. I can't remember. I am that old. Yeah. And his wife was there, and God bless her, she passed away, but his wife was teasing him when he was presenting to us. She was teasing him because she said that he brought one book on their honeymoon, which was The Intelligent Investor, which he kept reading over and over and over again on their honeymoon. But he lived it. He loves it. He's passionate about it. And that's one of the reasons why he's so successful. And he's a great communicator. A lot of people don't realize this about Warren Buffett. But one of the reasons he's so good and has raised so much money is because he keeps things simple, man. Like, you never watched an interview with Warren Buffett and afterwards you don't tell yourself, God, I'm confused. He makes it easy to understand. He's a great salesperson. And that and his great performance is one of the reasons why he's very successful. And the reason why he went to Columbia a business school is because it was Graham and Dodd, the dudes that wrote that book, The Intelligent Investor. They were professors there, or Benjamin Graham was, I think, yeah. But you can check that book out as well if you're a value investor, if you're interested. But if you're going to read The Intelligent Investor, just read it in the first hour of each day when you get up, because it is pretty dry. Yeah. Okay, next up is Saloni. Saloni saying, hi, Chris. I want to know about how I can maintain my health and fitness levels. For sure, people sacrifice their health to make money, and then they sacrifice money to maintain their health. Thanks. Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the best advice I can give is to multitask. Do multiple things at once. Always. So Steve Jobs, he used to go for a walk every day around 1 o'clock. And during those walks, he was sometimes by himself, or he'd walk with Walt Mossberg, who wrote that great book about him, or he'd go for a walk with his best friend, Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, and brilliant man. And the reason he would go on these walks is because it releases serotonin and endorphins, and it helps you think much more clearly. And so I would try to multitask. I would always try to multitask while you work. And so for me, for example, I get between 10 and 20,000 steps in every day without leaving this room. And I'll show you how. And for those of you that don't think I'm crazy, you're gonna think I'm nutty in a minute. But I got to show you. You asked. Yeah. So what I do actually is I have, and let me get my controller here. I have underneath my desk here, I'm going to set this all up from scratch. I actually have a treadmill. And this desk here, and I'm not sponsored by anybody and I never will be, but this desk here is by a company called Fully, F-U-L-Y. And I raise it up here. I feel like I'm making a Michael, hold on a second here. Making one of those Transformer, Michael Bay movie, yeah. And so what I do is I then pick this up here. And I'm going to get down here, and by the way, these are the pedals that I use to change screens. I got 5 of them down here, and they're just like keyboards. But I put that right there. And then what I do is I get my steps in, while I work, right? And sorry about the microphone there. It might be hard to hear me. And I make it, let me bring this up here, but I make it faster as well while I work. And I have another monitor up top there as well. And then what happens is, before you know it, I've gotten in, I've already gotten in about 10 or 20,000 steps. How you doing? Yeah. You don't realize it. And you think much more clearly as well. And this is a really cheap treadmill, the cheapest one I could find. It's called Fitbill. That's Fitbill. And it's cheaper because it's just a treadmill on the ground. There's no bars to hold on to. But I get a ton of steps in this way. And I think much more clearly because you're releasing serotonin and endorphins into your brain. And I've got a used elliptical trainer in the garage as well. Now I'll work while I do that. But I multitask. I multitask. I do this while I'm working. And I don't even realize it, but I get my 10 or 20,000 steps in. And you can speed it up as well, of course. Let me turn it off and then transform this desk back to normal. We get the pedals from here, put the pedal to the metal. And then I've got this used Herman Miller chair I bought. Let me set this up here. Here we go, good. And then I'll sit down here. And I'll put this down here. And that's it. That's how I get a lot of exercise in. So let me click this pedal so you can see me again. Put this down slightly but out of view. There we go. Yeah. So that's how I get my exercise in. And I go for walks as well. And I have this, and it looks ridiculous. But I've got, a baby Bjorn, which is like a thing where you carry your baby, and we had it with these 3 kids. I've got one for my laptop as well. It's ridiculous, I know. And I'll go for a walk while I'm on my laptop as well. Because if this doesn't work, this doesn't work as well either. And I eat very healthy as well. So I have a Ninja blender, and I put every antioxidant you can think of in this thing. And it's purple because I put a lot of acai in, which is a great South American fruit that gives you energy. So anyway, those are some of my hacks, which helps me become more productive. And it makes it fun too. And I feel like I have more energy now after those 3 steps I just took or whatever it was. Yeah. All right. Next up is Piyush is asking, hey, Chris, I'm doing your analyst course on Udemy, and I'm not understanding about Shark. What is it? And further, pardon me, and please tell me about what should I do as I'm not able to understand some episodes. Yeah, just ask questions within the course. So Shark Virtual Reality is a fictitious company that I created. The name of the, and I'll show you actually a little bit more about the guy. The name of the entrepreneur is Tony Shark. And so he started Shark Virtual Reality. It's just one of the case studies we do. And in fact, you can go to, I think it's still up, Shark Virtual Reality. Yeah, here it is. Shark Virtual Reality. And yeah, so it's a pretend company. And from an investment banking perspective, what I do is I have you click here to go to investor relations for this pretend company. And then you can click here to download the S1 file, which is one of the case studies in the class. All right, so here it is. This is the S1 filing. It's a pretend IPO document, which I made. And this is what an IPO document looks like, an S1. And so Morgan Haroun Sachs, yes, Morgan Haroun Sachs is top left. They're the book runner here. And these lesser known companies like, I don't know, Goldman Sachs or something? And Morgan Stanley are also part of the syndicate. Yeah. And there's my disclosure so I don't get sued by these companies here. But Morgan Haroun Sachs is way better than Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley combined, let me tell you. Yeah. So that's all it is. It's a pretend company. And if you have questions about the content that's being discussed in the course, just ask the question in the course. I'm not sure what platform you're taking it on, but just ask within the course, and we answer pretty quickly. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Craig. Hey, Craig, how are you, man? Craig is saying just a quick hello, Chris. How's the family? Things are great, thanks. Things are good. The kids are they're not allowed to go back to school, so they're learning here from home. So yeah, but I got a different Wi-Fi network for me now because it was crazy. I was teaching live and internet was slow, and I got Comcast Business to install business internet here, but the boys are all in school. Which is upstairs in their bedrooms using Zoom. and Chromebooks. But no, they're doing well. We all have our health. And that's important. That's important. Yeah. And you know, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. This guy here, he's 16 now. And usually by the time your son or your daughter is 12 years old, you've already spent 90% of the time you'll ever spend with them. It's true. But I get to spend so much more time with him now, especially this guy. We work out together in the garage. He's bigger than me. I'm nothing. But things are okay. Things are okay. I pray daily that we all get through this awful COVID dilemma. Hopefully there's a cure this November. Okay. Doesn't help that a president doesn't wear his mask all the time. And I don't get it. Look, I understand that we all have rights to decide what to do and not do with our health. But I just don't, like, I was up in Tahoe on vacation a couple weeks ago. And 90% of people weren't wearing masks. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's a big disconnect. I don't get it. So, and we're seeing, even in Europe, actually, we're seeing cases start to spike as well. And a bunch of universities like Notre Dame, they just decided that this semester is going to be all, remote, no more in-class stuff. And the same thing with Stanford out here and Harvard, I think, for the most part. And Google even. Google has 200,000 employees. Very well-run company. And for the next year, until at least July of 2021, every Google employee is working remotely. Yeah. So, okay. And then Craig is asking, would you recommend accounting to be taught in schools? I think so. Yeah. I think that the problem with university is, for the most part, you graduate and you don't have tangible skills you can apply in the real world. And learning how to manage your own personal money, your own checkbook, etc., is crucial. I mean, these are basic life skills. And business schools don't even teach that. Like, I remember when I graduated from MBA school, several years after graduating, I'd saved up enough money to buy my first apartment in New York. And I called my buddies that I graduated with, and we all had like an MBA in finance. And I said, "Hey, dude, how does a mortgage work?" And they're like, "I don't know. I'm going to ask my mom." So I think that basic business life skills should be taught in schools. But yeah, I definitely take accounting if you can. Or take my, if you go back to the very beginning of this webcast, I put a little trailer for one of my videos, Introduction to Finance, Accounting, Valuation, and Modeling. It's a 4-hour course. It'll teach you everything you need to know. Or an introduction, at least. Yeah. And it's fun, I think. Next question is from Brendan, who's saying, "Hey, Chris. Hey, man. Thanks for answering my Roth IRA retirement questions last week. You're most welcome. Last week was my first time attending your office hours, and they were wonderful. I'm eager to attend many more." Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate it, and great to have you. Thank you. Manas, how are you? Manas is from India. He speaks French as well, and he's saying, "Bonjour, monsieur. Comment allez-vous? Très bien, merci. Je veux faire le grasse matinée." Yeah. All right. Great to have you. And Brendan is saying, "My question this week is a two-part one, and it concerns approaching philanthropy with a long game mindset and utilizing saving strategies detailed in your personal finance course. Before my main questions, do you have any insights regarding how to set up an endowment scholarship, meaning a perpetual scholarship that will annually yield funds generating from a high amount of principal?" Yeah. So when it comes to charity or 501cs, I recommend speaking in company formation. I recommend speaking with a lawyer, and I'll show you where to go. And this is where I do a lot of my legal work. It's the cheapest way. So there's and I never get comped, as you guys know. Okay. But there's this website called LegalZoom.com. And for $30 or $35, if you have a company, you can talk to an attorney for half an hour each month, any kind of attorney you want. And if it's for personal matters, it's a lot less. It's like $15 per month, but it's a good deal. It's a good deal. And I do a lot of my trademarking here, copyrights, actually all of it here. Yeah, but I would check this out if you want to. And there's gazillions of types of lawyers you can talk to. So I would talk to a lawyer that is knowledgeable in company formation or charitable formations and 501c charities as well. And they'll be able to help you out. But when it comes to, whenever it comes to money and investing, you have to offer an investment memorandum, and there's a lot of legal paperwork involved. Never raise money for an endowment or a startup or anything without talking to lawyers first, please. Yeah. Okay. As a relatively broke college student, I often feel guilty when I don't donate to fundraisers that I see online. I anticipate that once I gain my footing in the world, I would donate regularly. However, is the best way to maximize my contribution to the world donating? What if instead of regular donations in small increments, I act like Scrooge and let compound interest snowball the money, and instead designate my my estate to be for a charitable cause, while also taking into account tax breaks for charitable contributions? Which strategy makes more sense to maximize my contributions? Yeah, and God bless you for thinking about this. So when I went to Columbia University for my MBA, and I remember one day one of the more famous graduates, alumni, gave a speech, and his name is Henry Kravis. And he basically invented the private equity industry back in the 80s. And if you're interested in private equity, read a book called Barbarians at the Gate. It's about the LBO and MBO management buyout of Nabisco, which is the National Biscuit Company. But when Henry Kravis was there, I thought he was going to talk about deals and how to structure private equity deals, and I was excited. The guy was a hero to me. And by the way, he was a straight C student in business school. But he knew how to network, which is more important anyway. But what he did was when he spoke for an hour and a half. And I was front row center, like he was like this far away. I was so excited. He didn't talk at all about how to make money or about how to structure private equity deals. All he talked about, and I love him for this, all he talked about was donating your time to charity, not money. And he's given hundreds of millions of dollars to Columbia Business School alone. But no, he talked about donating your time. And I think that's really important. I think it's actually more important than money. Obviously, I do a lot of both. But I think that if you mentor others that are less fortunate, that you're making your mark on the world and you're helping everybody, because education, as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon that we can use, to fix the world, so to speak. I would educate others and help others as well, and mentor others as well that are in need of help, and donate money as well. But I think your time's more important, because with education, as Malala said, with a gun, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism. Yeah. So I think if you can do both, it's great. But I think giving your time is important as well. Okay. And if I missed anybody's question in between, let me know, please. When you guys ask multi-part questions, I skip everybody in between, then I go back up. Manas is saying, sorry for being late. So I hope you're good. No, please. Thank you. And Manas, thank you as always for the social media support. Appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. And Manas is saying, so are all instructors invited to Udemy live events? I think so. I think anybody can go. Yeah, anybody can go. I think there's a fee. Like I have, the last Udemy live event I went to was in October of last year, 2019, if you're watching a replay. And it was in Berlin, and it was amazing. And a couple of my students actually paid to go to it. And they traveled from really far away to meet me, and I was touched. I was touched, yeah. So anybody can go. Yeah. Okay. And then Suraj is saying, love to hear from you, Chris. It's always great, and I feel energetic to hear from you and your experiences. Love from Nepal. Love right back at you. Thank you. Thank you. And then Brendan is writing here. Once again, thank you for your patience with my long questions. Nice job on the Instagram Live with Udemy yesterday. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then you wrote here, wishing you all the best, Brendan. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and for those of you, so I did a 30-minute Udemy Live, or I did a 30-minute Instagram live call with Udemy yesterday. Udemy has 1.2 million followers on Instagram. And it was the first time I used Instagram actually for a live call. And I have to be honest with you, I was nervous. But like I talk about in my my complete presentation course, if you feel nervous, nobody knows you're nervous. They can't tell. Like there was one part, a couple times where I was drinking water, and I thought I was shaking. I felt nervous, and I rarely do, but I thought I was shaking at one point. And I watched the replay, and you couldn't tell I was nervous at all. But I was. But I enjoyed it. Yeah. And towards the beginning of it, the nervousness went away because I told myself, God already knows what's going to happen, which will give me peace of mind. Yeah. But it was great though. I enjoyed it. I got a lot of great questions as well. Yeah, first time doing Instagram. Yeah. So it was fun. So next question is from Manas is saying, so what are your thoughts on TikTok and Oracle? Yeah. So I love TikTok. I mean, it's kind of like, it's like Vine before Twitter bought it and destroyed it. But I enjoy TikTok a lot. But I really do and I do watch it with my kids a lot. So with Dylan, at least, I spend time with them at night. These guys are too cool for school now. But we'll say prayers, then we'll watch. Well, we used to play iPad games, but there's no good new games now on iPad, so we just watch TikToks, which is fun. I wish that there was a way to edit out swearing though, because sometimes F-bombs are thrown in, and it's not cool. I'm watching it with my kids. Maybe there's a setting for it. I don't know, but I do enjoy it. I do tremendously. And the thing that amazes me about TikTok is you have all these people globally that are bored in the house. They sing that song, and they find ways to entertain themselves and the rest of the world as well, by making little games in their house and dominoes and all that fun stuff. And I love it. It's so much fun, and I hope it doesn't get banned, or they find some way to detach from China or servers, whatever it is. So yeah. So Oracle trying to acquire TikTok? What? Is that true? That wouldn't make any sense to me at all, because Oracle is an enterprise software company, and Safra Katz, who is a financial genius. She financially engineered Oracle to be an acquisition machine. They started off with PeopleSoft, which was a hostile acquisition back in 03 and 04 when the deal finally went through. Then they did Hyperion, BEA, Sun Microsystems, NetSuite. TikTok, that wouldn't make sense. They've never done a consumer acquisition. Let me go and Google that with you right now. Hold on a second. I would be very surprised if that's the case. Yeah. Oracle, TikTok. The closest thing Larry ever did to something consumer oriented was the network computer concept back in the 80s. And I know he looked at Apple at one point. Oh my God. Huh? How did I not hear about this? Oh my God. I don't get it. Microsoft, I understand, because they've got a consumer division with the Xbox, etc. And the gaming stuff with Mojang, etc. But wow, I didn't even hear about this. Thank you for telling me. Trump supports Oracle's bid to buy TikTok. Wow. I had, yeah, it looks like an awkward fit. I agree with that. Regardless of what Trump says, I think I'm very confused. I'm very, very confused why they would do that. I've never seen Oracle do anything consumer facing at all. Wow. I would be absolutely shocked if that. I wonder what investors are saying. I mean, Oracle's been brilliant at buying companies from an organic growth perspective to show that they're still growing. But and it broke my heart when they paid $8 billion and bought NetSuite, because I thought NetSuite was going to be a $100 billion company one day. Wow. I'm blown away. I did not know about that. I thought that was a typo here, but you're right. You're right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that would be, doesn't make sense. I mean, that's just like Tesla trying to buy Chiquita bananas or something. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Fascinating. Well, Larry's certainly getting great PR for it, I guess, right now. Yeah. So I don't know. Unless, because Oracle's very first contract was with the CIA. And the first, and that project for the CIA's first database, was called Project Oracle. So let me just think about this. If a big percentage of revenue from Oracle comes from the United States government, not all of it, but a big percent, and if Oracle wants to help the U.S. government from a security perspective by buying an asset that is owned by potentially Chinese companies or Chinese entities that might be spying on Americans. And since Oracle has a great relationship with three-letter agencies in the United States. Okay. I'll have to give that some more thought, though. But thanks for telling me. Wow. Okay. Next up is Mohammed, who's saying, Chris, can you tell me, how did you quit from your job and then starting your own business, the steps, the history when you started, and how you managed the dynamic as an entrepreneur without fixed income yet? Yeah. So it's a great question. Thank you. So I've started many, many companies on the side while I work for other people. That's right. And when they started working and taking off, then I quit the people I worked for, and I would run those companies. Yeah. So anybody can start a side hustle. And I think that the trick is this, deciding when to quit and do your company full time. So my rule is that if your side hustle over the past 6 months, you make more money than you do from your salary working for somebody else for a year, then that's a no-brainer time to quit. Yeah. Yeah. But I was always starting my own companies on the side because I was only 70% there mentally whenever I worked for somebody else. I always, did well, whatever, and beat quotas and all that stuff, whatever. But there's always part of me that was like, you know what, man, something's missing. I want to be free. I want to be independent. I don't want to spend the rest of my life being someone else's bitch. It's true. And my biggest nightmare was always that I would wake up one day when I'm old and realize that I'm working for a jerk that pays me this much money to make his dreams become a reality. That's a nightmare for me. So I always start them on the side, always. Confidentially, of course. And I recommend you do the same as well. Yeah. If you're not happy. And some people want to work in a big company forever, and that's cool if they do. But it's not for me. And if you're frustrated working for somebody else, man, I would say embrace that frustration. Frustration is a good thing because it forces you to, get outside of yourself and get outside of your comfort zone and just improve your life by finding another job or by putting your dent in the universe by starting a company. Okay, and Manas is writing a book as well. Manas is saying the book is 90% ready, and by the grace of God, you'll have it with you very soon. Okay, good. Let me know on this call when you publish it and the name so I can order it right away. And the most recent one of my students has written using my template. is this one written by Christina Chin. She also goes by the name Fanny. And she's one of my amazing platinum students in my MBA degree program. She published The Misadventures of Edward Wee. It's a great book of fiction. Yeah, and so congratulations, Fanny, if you're watching as well. Okay. And Manas wrote here, Apple took 42 years to be $1 trillion company, and it took 21 weeks to get another trillion. Your thoughts on that? Yeah. Amazing, eh? Apple's the first $2 trillion company. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, it's incredible. So a lot of hedge funds are going out of business this year. One of the reasons is because they're short-term focused. And you would think big crisis in the world, a health crisis, no one going to work, everyone staying home, no improvement in sight. You would think the market would go down a lot based on that, wouldn't you? So what happens is this. Governments have two doctors working for them, so to speak. This is an analogy. They have two doctors that try to fix the economy. One doctor is in charge of monetary policy. That's the policy of money. And this doctor, and it's called somebody different in every country. Like in America, it's called the Federal Reserve. In Canada, it's called the Bank of Canada. In Europe, it's called the ECB, European Central Bank. In Japan, it's called the Minister of Finance, the MOF. In other countries, it's called the Bank of whatever. So the policy of money, monetary policy. So one doctor in the economy is in charge of monetary policy, the policy of money. And what they do is when things are bad, they change the policy of money by printing more money so that interest rates go down. That's how you help the economy. Interest rates go down. Well, there's no more medicine left with this doctor because interest rates are basically zero in many countries. The other doctor you have to fix an economy is the doctor of fiscal policy, which means cutting taxes or issuing stimulus checks, etc., to help the economy. Well, all this medicine has been used already. I mean, how many more stimulus checks can you write before countries, go belly up or whatever it is, can't pay back their debts? So what can you do now in order to make people feel better about themselves and keep spending money? And a lot of people don't realize, but 2/3 of the United States economy is consumer spending. It's consumer spending. It's not big business. It's consumer spending. And about 1/3 of the revenue for the planet, or 1/3 of the GDP for Earth, is from the United States. So there's a lot at stake with the American consumer. If the American consumer is a big driver of growth and stability globally, how do you make the American consumer feel better about themselves and their net worth, given this crisis? Well, how can you make their net worth go up? How can you do that? There's no more medicine left with monetary policy. There's no more medicine left with fiscal policy. What do you do? Wouldn't it be great if the stock market went up a lot? Everybody wins. So it wouldn't surprise me if certain slush funds exist that are buying stocks to push up the market. So it's not a stretch. I can't confirm it for sure, but it's illogical what the market's doing now, given the crisis. And that's why a lot of hedge funds are going belly up, because they're short-term focused. You got to be long-term focused. But wouldn't it make sense for certain government agencies, in certain countries maybe, to make the American consumer feel better about themselves from a sentiment and spending perspective if their net worth went up and they bought stocks? The next question is, and what's the alternative too? Like if you think about it, if that took place, you might think, oh my gosh, that's highly unethical. Why would they do that? What's the alternative? Chaos. Crime rates go up, whatever it is. I don't know. Would it be a bad thing if there were slush funds out there buying stocks in this weak moment in human history? I can't confirm that it's taking place. I have no proof. But if it was taking place, I would completely understand, because the alternative is not a happy place to think about. Yeah. Okay. Next question is Udemy a public company? And you wrote, I hope it doesn't issue shares. Yeah. So with respect to your question on is Udemy a public company, it's private right now. And they raised, and this is all publicly disclosed. So Udemy's valuation early in 2020 was $700 million. And then they raised $50 million in another round from a great Japanese company that loves to invest in ed tech, education tech companies. And that valued the company at $2 billion. And it's a great testament to Udemy to be able to raise money in a really, really tough economic environment this year. So Udemy is private right now. It's got a $2 billion private valuation. This is all publicly disclosed. Yeah. And I do believe that Udemy is Google and everybody else in ed tech is Bing. I do. And I do believe that Udemy is going to be at least a $100 billion company one day. At least. Yeah. Okay. And Pratik is saying, hi, Chris. Hey, how are you? You wrote, have a nice day. You too. Thank you. Next question is from Manas, who's saying, you were live yesterday, but I think it was not enough for us. The duration was too short. Oh, on the Udemy Instagram thing. No, thank you. I appreciate that. It was half an hour. So I talked for, and thank you, Udemy, for that opportunity. I talked for 10 minutes, and then I took 20 minutes of Q&A. Yeah, it was fun. And I was nervous. I was, even though this is what I do every week for 102 weeks now. Yeah, 102 weeks. Yeah. But actually, what made me feel a little bit less nervous was Maggie, who's the wonderful moderator, and she's in charge of media stuff at Udemy. I said a joke. I did some of my awful dad humor, and I heard her laughing a little bit in the background, just a bit, and that made me more comfortable. Yeah. Okay. Manas wrote, can you please help me? Please spare me 5 minutes of your time, and please help me with something. Sure. Ask me here. Yeah. And then your question is, please type in Malik's Edutainment in YouTube. And I just uploaded a video. 5 things schools don't teach you. Please watch it because I just changed my equipment and I want your feedback on the voice. Okay, sure. Let me go there. Malik's Edutainment. Okay, I'll go there with you. All right. Let's go to YouTube. And I'll type in Malik's Edutainment. Here we go. This one here, yeah. Okay. Which video is it though? I see a bunch here, so let me know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, 5 things schools don't teach you. Let me see. 5 things schools don't teach you. Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't see it. I see 6 videos, and I don't see that video. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Let me go to the next question here. All right. All right. So next question is, let me see here. Pratik is saying, my question is, what is the most important factor while presenting our company to investors? Yeah. So I would say that the jockey is always more important than the horse. I'd always prefer to invest in an A management team with a B business model than a B management team with an A business model. And so understand that you're selling yourself. And sophisticated investors know that with early stage companies, their business models are going to change dramatically in the long run because they're usually early to a market that's changing or a brand new market. And so you want to come across as somebody very passionate and be able to sell your heart out to them as well and get them excited about the company. And a lot of sophisticated investors, when you're pitching your idea to them to raise money from them, They think of themselves as a customer of your product, and they want to get excited. They want to get excited about your product. So, and your ability to sell them is crucial because they understand that the most successful entrepreneurs are great salespeople. Yeah. Okay. Next up is Rudy. Rudy, it's been a while, brother. How are you, man? You wrote, "What's up, Chris? I missed you." Yeah, I missed you too, man. Last time I talked to you, I remember you worked at an insurance company, and then you started your own insurance company as well. So I hope that's going well with you, man. I missed you, and great to have you back. Thank you. It's been, was it last year? Last time? Maybe it was January this year. Last time I saw you. Yeah. All right. Next question is from Gerson, who's saying, "Good morning. Thanks, Chris, for being here. I hope all is well." Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. And you're welcoming us. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. And Manas is quoting my Michael Jordan quote here, which I love. It's great. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, any advice for someone starting a company with a patent for a new consumer product? Yeah. So I would, I need a little bit more detail. I'm so sorry. Just tell me what kind of company it is, and I'll humbly offer my thoughts on it. Thank you, though. Okay, next question is from, and let me just do a time check. How we do? Oh, we're great. We got like 40 minutes left. We're great. Okay. Next question is from Achille, who's saying, "Hi, Professor. Hope you're having a great week. Likewise. Do you have Picasso on the weekly webcast? Thanks." Yeah, that's a good question. Hold on one sec. I've got him here somewhere. And for those of you in my MBA degree program, aha, here he is. It's like an Easter egg. He's actually in every video hiding somewhere. And so, let's see if my chair's, no, my chair's fine. He's in every video in my MBA degree program. It's like, where's Waldo? And you have to find him, right? So I usually put him in different places, but there he is right there. Picasso, Pabs is right there. Yeah. And I got that from Barcelona, which is the last vacation I took last year. I'd love to be able to travel again, when the world gets back to normal. Yeah, I miss traveling. Yeah. All right. Jose, what's up, bud? Achille is, okay, you guys talking to each other. Awesome. Michael Young is saying, "Could you explain why would you invest money in a company that not only constantly is losing money, but never profitable like Uber?" Yeah, it's a great question. So it all comes down to your investment philosophy. So there's two types of investors. There's value investors like Warren Buffett that love to invest in stocks or companies that are cheap, that throw off a lot of cash. Then there's growth investors. And growth investors like to invest in companies that are not profitable today, but will be in the future. And they don't care about profitability today. They care about profitability in the future. So it's like religion or politics. There's just two different schools of thought. And it gets quite contentious between these two groups as well. You're either a value investor or a growth investor. And so a growth investor, if you think about it this way, think about Amazon in 2001. So Amazon was founded in the mid-90s, whatever, by Jeff Bezos. He worked at D.E. Shaw. And I almost worked there, actually, in the same office as him. D.E. Shaw is a great hedge fund in New York City. So Bezos started Amazon. And in 2001, when the world was going to hell in a handbasket, it was an awful time for the markets. I remember Barron's, which is like the Wall Street Journal, but for the weekends. Barron's had a cover story called Amazon.bomb. It was saying how, oh my gosh, it's so overvalued. But that's very short-sighted of Barron's to say that. Because you got to be a long-term investor if you're going to be a growth investor. And so in 2001, when Amazon's market cap was a hell of a lot smaller than it is today, you could have said to Amazon and to Jeff Bezos, "Hey, come on, man, start making money. Fire a lot of your salespeople and your R&D folks and just be profitable today." Well, if they did that back in 2001, they wouldn't be as big as they are today. So it's a philosophical thought process. Do you want to grow and be a massive company in the future? If so, don't be profitable today. Reinvest that money by hiring more people in R&D or more salespeople, because you can be profitable in the future. And at some point when growth slows a lot, then you can transition from a growth stock to a value stock. But not today, because the investors in Amazon have and always will be, for the foreseeable future at least, for a while, they'll always be growth investors. They want Amazon to grow. They don't care about profitability right now. They care about Jeff Bezos building the most important company in the history of the world. And eventually what happens is every growth company, growth slows and they get really big. It's like the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy will never grow more than a couple percent. It's just too big. It's not their fault. They're just big. It's a law of large numbers. So what happens is when you get really big and you're not growing anymore, and what happens is eventually you transition to a value investment. And that transition takes a decade usually. I call it at least investment purgatory, the transition from growth to value. And you never want to invest in a company that's stuck in that transition, because growth investors don't want to buy it. It's not growing anymore. And value investors don't want to buy it because it's not cheap enough yet. Yeah. And sometimes the transition from growth to value takes less than 10 years if private equity firms get involved. And they're the catalyst for change to unlock shareholder value, to move that company a little bit faster from growth to value. Yeah, and Carl Icahn certainly does that a lot. Okay, next question is from Kim, who's saying, regarding a great book of the moment, Option B by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. Wanted to share that with everyone. It's worth a read. Yeah, I didn't know she had another book. I know she wrote Lean In a number of years ago. That's cool. I'll check that out, though. Thank you. Thank you. I think highly of her. Yeah. Next up is Hassan, who's saying, hi, Chris. Hey, I'd like to ask you about what are the benefits of studying an MBA on a personal and professional level, and do you recommend to study an MBA? Yeah. So I would say the only reason to consider doing an MBA at a traditional bricks and mortar school, the only reason is if you have set up 1,000 networking meetings and you still can't get the job of your dreams. Oh my gosh, Chris, really 1,000? Well, think about it this way. If I told you that each meeting that you were going to have cost you $100, and I would pay you $100 for every meeting you did, and if you did 1,000 meetings, that's $100,000. 1,000 times $100. That's what the cost is of an MBA at a traditional school. And, the amount of money you're giving up as well in your salary, and the time as well. So I would say only do an MBA at a traditional bricks and mortar school if you've set up 1,000 meetings and you still can't change careers. I think that relationships are more important than product knowledge. And I've got this book here. You can get it from my website, harouneducation.com. And you can download this networking book. It's a couple hundred pages. It's free. And you get several hours of YouTube videos as well that I've created for you. I think that relationships are more important than product knowledge, and that your network is your net worth. And I think if you set up enough informational meetings, 1,000, I know it sounds out there, but just hear me out. But if you do it, and obviously you're not going to do 1,000. I get it. Maybe it's 50 or 100. You will be able to get that customer of your dreams, that business partner of your dreams, that job of your dreams by doing informational meetings. It works. All right. I got this thing that warmed up my coffee. The battery doesn't last that long now, so I'll put it here on the charger. All right. All right, next question is, Mamadou is asking, hi, Chris, welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed your vacation. I did, thank you. It was good. It was good. But you know that you have the job of your dreams and found your passion in life if on your vacation you actually miss work. And I miss this. I miss doing this. Is fun. This is fun. Obviously, I enjoyed spending every second with my boys and with my wife Christine. But I love what I do. And your question is, what courses would you suggest for data analytics on Udemy. Thanks. Yeah, take anything that Kirill teaches. You'll see. Just do a search for his name. He teaches a lot of great data analytics courses. Yeah. Next up is, how can I market my course on Udemy? I mean, how could I tell people about me, my course? Yeah. So what I recommend is, in this new digital reality that we live in, you got to really think about giving and helping other people. You know, give and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. You know, give, 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 give. Some people call it karma. Some people call it karma synchronicity. But if you help other people because you really want to help them, you know, if you have love in your heart for that, everything else will fall into place. So how do you do it? Well, you have to become a thought leader. And the way to become a thought leader is to think you're a thought leader. You know, it's like the Rodin sculpture. I think, therefore I am. And so I think that you need to do a lot of social media stuff. And you can repurpose your content too. So, for example, what I do is this. I do this weekly call. It's 3 hours. We're on week number 102 now. And then what happens is within... Let's just shirt off center here. Yeah. Then within... I have 7 vlogs for the next week, which are taken out of this call, this weekly call. And I have Instagram videos and Twitter videos are also taken out of this weekly YouTube call. And so I'm repurposing content. And so you need to write about whatever it is that you're a thought leader in. And it's self-fulfilling, you know, like the Rodin sculpture, I think, therefore I am. So if you write a lot about whatever it is you teach about in Udemy, and you publish it to LinkedIn or to other social media outlets, eventually people will think of you as an authority in your market. So you could start off by writing a book, and you can go to my website, harouneducation.com/write book, all lowercase, write book. Download my templates. It's 6x9. It's free for anybody to write a book. And then what you can do is you can gut the book, not entirely, but you basically take certain chapters, copy and paste directly to LinkedIn posts, for example. Just repurpose content. It's something that Nintendo has been doing forever. And Nintendo is the oldest tech company in the world. They were founded more than 100 years ago. And what Nintendo does brilliantly is they take all their content and they repurpose it. And the margin structure is great for them as well. So what they'll do is their 8 and 16-bit games for Mario, and Mario 64, etc., the 64-bit console, and the GameCube, etc., and the Wii U, and the Wii, all that stuff they keep and Game Boy Advance, DS, whatever it is these days, Switch, I think is the only product they have now. What they do is they repurpose all that older content on newer consoles, and they're the authority in that market. And so think a lot like Nintendo when you're creating your social media strategy. You know, repurpose your content, and think like a thought leader, and eventually you'll become one. And I really do believe if you give, and help people, then what happens is you will become a thought leader, and your courses will sell. It takes time, though. It takes time. Yeah. But you just got to be in it for the long run. Like I told myself when I started doing this weekly webcast, I don't care if nobody ever shows up. I'm never stopping this. I'm going to do this every week forever. And the same thing with my vlogs. I'm on day 750 now. And I told my students 750 days ago, I'm going to vlog every day for the next 10 years, at least. You just got to be persistent. You got to be persistent. And it will pay off. It will pay off. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to look back upon this moment in history. And we're going to say, gosh, I wish I made more YouTube videos back then. Because YouTube is the only gold rush in history where it costs you nothing to make the product. And it's the only gold rush in history where you can get automatic access to hundreds of thousands of potential customers for free. Yeah. And it's fun too. Okay. And then Next question is, thanks for whatever you do. You helped me when I was in need. Thank you for that. I will always be grateful to you. Thanks a lot. You're most welcome, Pratik. You're most welcome. Thank you. And then Pratik is saying, also, my dad had a question. Sure. What can be done if a job requires work experience, but you don't have it? Also, what should one do if a job requires qualification and you don't have the qualification? Yeah. So if you don't have work experience, you got to think like a recruiter. They would only hire somebody with experience in a certain area. So an internship might be worth looking into, a free internship. So let's say you want to get into industry X and there's a gap. You don't have any skills in industry X. Well, start networking a lot to meet people that work in the industry and offer to work for them for free for a short unpaid internship. And if it's a big company, they'll pay you anyway. And the way to do that is to network a lot. Your network is your net worth. And so you can go to my website, HarounEducation.com, and download this book for free. It'll teach you a lot about networking to get an internship or anything you want. So I would try to get an internship in that area. Now, if it's a technical skill, like Python or whatever it is, you can always learn that stuff online and then put the certificate of completion on your LinkedIn profile if you want to. And if you're really motivated to get into the tech industry and you're just kind of learning right now about how to program and stuff, then you can create your own website. It's free to do or very cheap, and put a lot of your sample code there or applications you've made. You can do that and put that on your LinkedIn profile as well. And that's a way to show others you've actually done it. Or you can start doing gigs on the side on Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com, a great company based out of Tel Aviv. Or you can go to Upwork.com and start working there as well and just developing a portfolio and a track record as well. Yeah. Okay. And then Ashutosh is saying, I'm in first year program and I want to be a trader. What to focus? Yeah. So I would say that I strongly, humbly, I say this with love in my heart, I recommend not being a trader. I recommend being long-term focused. There's no such thing as a successful trader. Otherwise, we'd be able to name them. What are their names? They don't exist. They don't exist. Because what happens is if you're a trader, you're trying to make money every month. And every month has 20 weekdays, which means 20 trading days. And the reason that stocks go up and down in a short amount of time is quite often not for fundamental reasons with respect to that one company. Quite often it's because of geopolitical events. It might be saber rattling between, I don't know, Riyadh and Moscow. And the price of oil might change, which impacts the markets. Or it might be because a big company had great earnings or poor earnings, which pulls down the market or certain stocks. I think the only way to make money consistently is to be long-term focused. As Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Otherwise, you get fooled by randomness, as Nicholas Taleb said once. Yeah, or Nassim Taleb. Yeah. I just be longer-term focused. Always, always, always. Otherwise, it's like going to a casino. You can't win. You can't win. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Pratik, who's saying, "What advice would you give me now? I'll be joining your MBA degree program next year." Yeah. I would say if you're trying to, and just following up on your earlier question, if you're trying to break into a new industry, and your dad, that's a great question from your dad. You don't have experience in that area. The way to get experience is to network like crazy and do internships. And I teach you exactly how to do this in this book here. Yeah. Which you can download from my website for free, of course. Okay. All right. And Manas is saying, done is better than perfect. Yeah. It's interesting because Salvador Dali had that quote, which is, if you strive for perfection, you'll never reach it. Yeah. Especially with social media stuff, you got to be comfortable with imperfection. Don't, if you tell yourself, I'm never going to publish a YouTube video or write an article on LinkedIn or whatever it is, or make a course on Udemy until it's perfect. Well, if you strive for that perfection, you'll never get there. You just got to be comfortable with yourself and all of my imperfections and just get it out there. This shirt is driving me nuts. Hold on one second. I get these shirts from Amazon, the cheapest shirts you can get. Maybe it's the light. I don't even know. Whatever. Don't strive for perfect. I'm such a moron. You see that? I'm telling you not to be perfect. Here I am trying to. Anyway. Don't do what I do. Do what I say. Okay. And then Maz is saying, hey, Chris, it was great talking to you one-on-one in our call during the MBA program. And then you wrote here, the MBA program comes with 100% satisfaction. Thanks, Maz. I appreciate that. Thank you. It was great talking to you as well. Thanks. And Maz is one of my amazing platinum MBA degree program students. Yeah. Next up, we got GZ. GZ is saying, hi, Chris. Nice to listen to you after registering for your courses. Great to have you. And you wrote, I'm from GTA, the Greater Toronto area. And of course, when I see that, dude, I'm thinking of GTA 5, which I'm still playing. And I might buy, I actually might buy a decked out PC so I can play a modded version of GTA 5, which looks insanely great. But you wrote you're from GTA, Ontario, the Greater Toronto area, my hometown. Yeah. I'm from Mississauga. So I'm a 905er. Yeah. And 416 is the area code in Toronto. 905er is the S&M crowd. Scarborough, Mississauga. I'm from Mississauga. Kind of like in New York City, they talk about, oh, here comes the B&T folks into the bars, the bridge and tunnels. Yeah. So I'm a B&Ter. Yeah. And you wrote here, I want to know your opinions on investing in stocks directly or through mutual funds. Thanks. Yeah. So I would say, don't ever buy mutual funds because they're a scam. And mutual funds always materially underperform, or almost all mutual funds underperform the indexes. And the fees are ridiculously high. Sometimes it's 3, 4, or 5% with hidden fees. And what happens is mutual fund managers, quite often they chase performance in the fourth quarter because that's how they get compensated. And so they buy and sell a lot more than they should. And what happens is in Canada, where you're from, and in most countries, governments reward you for being long-term focused and a patient long-term investor. And so taxes are usually higher if you make money on something in less than a year when it comes to stocks than if you held onto it for a longer period of time. It's called capital gains taxes. So as Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. And so these mutual fund companies, over 90% of which underperform the indexes anyway, they buy and sell, some of them, all year long. And even if they're up on the year, the taxes are higher than if you just own an ETF. And an ETF stands for an exchange traded fund. And you can buy an ETF that represents any index you want to. And the fees are low. The fees are usually 0.5% or lower. So I would recommend buying ETFs instead of mutual funds. Let me show you an example. And if you want to buy individual stocks, what I recommend doing is take my complete financial analyst course, as I teach you how to invest like a professional investor. And I teach you how to do deep research as well. Or you can sign up for my MBA degree program. I go into a heck of a lot more detail as well. So ETF stands for exchange traded funds. And so an example of an ETF is the S&P 500. This is the SPY, and traders call it the spiders. And so here, this represents all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. And if we go here to profile, we can see what the fees are. And the fees are tiny. Look at that, 0.09%. So you can outperform most mutual funds by buying this, mutual funds that at least are benchmarked to the S&P. And the fees are way lower. And because you're from Canada, I'll show you Canadian ETF, EWC. This is if you want to buy stocks in Canada, right? The TSX, Toronto Stock Exchange. So this here is, it's offered by iShares, which is owned by BlackRock, it's a company that has over like $7 trillion in assets now or something crazy like that. Yeah. But if you go here to profile, this represents Canadian stocks. It's higher because it's a little bit less liquid. It's a higher fee, I should say, than the S&P, the SPY. And if you want to see what's inside this, what you can do is you can go to holdings. And we know that Canada is a very natural resources rich economy with 6 regulated banks. And so financial services is the largest component of this ETF. And then you've also got commodities as second. You've got energy here, basic materials here, all adds up. And so the biggest stocks here, and God bless you, Shopify. It makes me proud, man. Great tech company in Canada. It's awesome. It broke my heart when Nortel went belly up and, when Research in Motion went nowhere. But the largest component now is Shopify, which is based in Ottawa, a great e-commerce engine company. Then you've got the banks, right? There's the big 6. And then here's, this is railway. This is a pipeline company, Enbridge, energy company as well. Yeah. And Barrick Gold, ticker ABX, I think, yeah. Which is big gold company. Yeah. So you can invest here if you want to, and you'll probably do better than if you bought mutual funds in Canada from reputable brands. You pay less in fees as well. Yeah. And you can throw that into the Canadian equivalent of a 401k retirement savings program, which is called an RSVP. I mean, RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Program. Yeah. And you got to max out your RRSP or your 401k if you're in America every year. It's free money. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, we got Rawlings, who's saying, I'm glad to be home. Amen. Me too. Me too. And then GZ is saying, also, I'm just wondering, how could you develop and make achievements on various careers/interests as jobs, which are not directly related? I mean, time management. Yeah. Let me think about how to answer that one. I guess you could start a number of side hustles. But when it comes to time management, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And so if you schedule all your days the day before, at least your work days, you'll get a lot more accomplished in terms of finding time to exercise, socialize with friends, of course, you time, as well as starting your side hustle and your full-time job as well, whatever it might be. And if you go to my website, you can go to harouneducation.com/schedule, all lowercase, schedule. And you can download a one-pager that I have my students complete. It's a basic version. And in my MBA degree program, I have another version on steroids in many other formats as well. Yeah. But I would say, again, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. Yeah. And it's like that. Like when you go on vacation, and you have time off, you can't even make it to the gym. I'm talking to myself. I can't even make it to the gym sometimes because I'm not busy. So again, you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. How do you stay busy? You write out your schedule every day the night before. Yeah. All right. And that's acai in there. It's a South American fruit. Gives you energy. And I got a ton of antioxidants in there as well because I want to live to 200. I want to do this every week for the next 200 years or 150, whatever it is. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, how do we determine marketing costs? Yeah, marketing is hard, man. It's hard because you got to be really, really patient. One speech can change your life. You will learn to love public speaking. One speech. Oh, hey there. One speech can change your life. You can. Oh, hey, I'll be with you in a second, okay? You will learn to love public speaking. Oh, hey, actually, I'm practicing for my speech. Can I rehearse it with you and you can maybe let me know what you think? Okay, thanks. One speech can change your life and touch the hearts of so many people around you, whether you realize it or not. And this assumes you have no public speaking experience at all. No problem. I used to be terrified of public speaking, much more than you. I'd rather have been here than up there. For example, when I was in business school at Columbia University, as well as during the training program at Goldman Sachs, I asked more questions than my peers did because I was terrified of being put on the spot. But now I feel alive while giving speeches. You know, people might forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. This course is not based on theory. It's based on real practical experience. I've given a TEDx talk, numerous keynote presentations, and graduation speeches in front of hundreds of people. I've given numerous business presentations, and I've been interviewed by many media publications. You will learn to love public speaking on the spot with no preparation. So that one incredible speech can be the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It's almost impossible to achieve all of your goals in life without learning how to master public speaking. Anyone that's had a significant influence on the world, from Dr. Martin Luther King to Malala, Bill Gates, or Steve Jobs, all had one thing in common. They've all had the ability to communicate with large groups of people. In this course, I will include 25 different templates for every type of speech occasion, from a personal speech at a wedding to a business presentation using Skype. This course will teach you everything there is to know about public speaking. One speech can change your life and the lives of so many people around you. Life all comes down to a few short moments. So how was that?
Guess it was okay, Dad. Can we go home now?
Sure thing, bud. All right, let's go. So I've got to take him home, but I'll see you in class. Thanks. So how was everything? Had a good day?
Business schools
All right.
do a pretty good job.
All right,
of
I'm
providing
excited because that's the
students
first time
with
ever that
theoretical
all the power
frameworks,
went out
which
and
can
my
sometimes
backup
be
generators
applied
or
to
backup
real-world
batteries
problems.
worked here.
However,
The one thing I messed up, though,
quite often they
this is
overlook
week
the
102, I'm
most
still making
crucial and
mistakes,
practical business
is
lessons. Like how to
everything was
network,
connected
how
to
to find
backup power
customers, or
except
how to
for
get a
this.
job. If you want to learn
I'm
how to
excited,
get a meeting with
all the
almost
lights,
anyone,
everything.
or
Good,
take your
good.
career
Okay,
to the
good.
next
We're
level,
power-proof here.
then this
and the
course is
reason
for
why
you.
the power is going out
I've worked
a
at Goldman
lot,
Sachs.
is because
I've met with top business people,
at 3:30 in the
including
morning
Bill
on
Gates,
Sunday of last
Warren
week,
Buffett,
there was a
and
lightning
the
storm
founders
here
of the
in San
biggest
Francisco.
technology
The first time we
companies.
saw lightning
And
here
at the end of
literally
all
since
my meetings
2005.
with these visionaries,
And so a bunch of
I've
fires.
always asked them for advice on what made them so successful. And a lot of what they taught me is not taught in business school. So I put together a list of every lesson, and I've included it in this book and in this course. These lessons will help you take your career to the next level. It's exciting to reinvent yourself in ways that you never thought were possible, until you realize it is possible. Anything is possible, as many of my students that have taken this course have realized.
All right. Finally, I got you back. Sorry about that, guys. We had a power outage here. And I literally have 5 APC backup batteries, and it still takes a lot of battery here. But there's been fires. You can smell it outdoors, actually. It's brutal. Just north of us in Napa Valley, as well as south of us in, yeah. So sorry about that. Because of the lightning storm last week, there was fire, but no excuse, Chris. We're back. Okay, good. Well, thanks everybody for your patience. I unfortunately, and let me just see here. I'm going to have to wrap this up in a second because I've got office hours for my MBA degree students, but I don't want to just leave you guys hanging here. It's not cool, right? So let me go through the questions quickly to see if there's something that I need to still address or something I was half addressing. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm using a backup monitor here as well, and yeah, I like the challenge though. All right, hold on a second. Wow, there's so many questions, man. My gosh. All right, hold on a second here. Okay. Yeah, I'm up to, so Jose is saying, Chris, I can't wait for our one-on-one meeting today. Excellent. Me too, brother. Me too. Awesome. And we'll start MBA degree student office hours in a few minutes. I just want to see if I can wrap this up. Pratik is saying, I completed 5,000 words of a rough copy of my book. After completing the book, from whom should I get my book edited, as I'm not so good, you wrote here, in writing English? Yeah. So what I recommend is go to fiverr.com. That's fiverr.com. And you can find a lot of people that will help you out at an affordable price as well when it comes to editing. And let me know when your book's ready. Tell me on one of these webcasts, because I want to buy it immediately on Amazon and profile it here on the air like I do with all my students' books. Yeah. Okay. And let me just do a sound check, see if it's working. I think we're good, right? Okay, good. Okay. And then Jose is saying, Chris, can you share the Amazon curtain link? Yeah, absolutely. And Jose, what I'm doing actually is on Tuesday's class for my platinum students, I'm actually teaching you guys how to set up a video backdrop and do a video and all this stuff using just your iPhone to get quality just as good as what we're doing right here. And in that, I provide you a list of all equipment, including the curtains I got on Amazon as well. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then Avi Pro is saying, Chris, how big is your room that you're streaming from? I'm thinking of converting a spare room to something like what you have combined with my home office space. Yeah. So it's about 12 feet by 12 feet by 10 feet. And I certainly maximize it. I've got cameras back up against the wall there. And I try to have everything on the ceiling or if they're on the ground, on wheels if I can, just to keep everything out of the way. And just in case the kids come in, I want them to trip and get hurt and stuff. Yeah. That's how I do it. And if you want, you can actually, on a future webcast, we can do a Zoom call together and you can show me your room and I can tell you exactly how to set up based on the millions of mistakes I've made. And clearly I continue to make mistakes, including today with the power outage. I got backup battery generators here, but still, yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Next question is, how many cameras do you have? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 that are live right now with 5 my pedals. Yeah. And I got plenty of others as well. Yeah. But the amazing thing is though that your iPhone or your Android handset camera quality is just as good if you get the writing light and everything. And that's why I teach, and I will be teaching Jose at least in my my MBA the classes on Tuesday. Yeah. But I've got Sony, Canons, Nikons, everything. So when I teach this stuff, I know how to use all those different operating systems because I'm a nerd. Yeah. Okay. And then Mr. Longon is saying, good afternoon, Professor. I learned a lot from your Udemy classes. Thank you. I'm starting a consumer product company with a patent and was curious if you had any advice. Thank you. Yeah. So the best advice I can give you is to actually go to and I've got my PIP camera all messed up, the wrong one's thrown in here post the power outage. But what I want you to do, and this is what I see, by the way, behind the scenes. What I want you to do, please, is to go to LegalZoom.com and talk to a patent attorney here. They'll be able to help you much better than I ever will as well. And I'm not the right person to give legal advice, but thank you as always. Okay, cool. Hold on a second. Here we go. Okay, cool. All right. And I actually have to, I'm so sorry, everybody, but I have to wrap up this call because I've got MBA student, my gold and platinum student, office hours from 11:15 until 1:15 today, and then a bunch of one-on-ones, including with you, Jose. I'm looking forward to talking to you, brother. Yeah. So I want to thank you all for your time. I do this call every week, starting at 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. San Francisco time. Now, within 24 hours of the completion of this call, I have somebody in my team that goes through the whole call and types up all the questions with time codes. So you can go to the description field of this webcast and click directly on the question to get an automatic answer. And so, again, thanks a lot for your time. I'm so sorry about the power outage. I do have backup batteries, but I had to reboot the computer. I'll make sure that going forward, if there is a bit of a hiccup like this, I'll have another computer up and running immediately, so it's seamless to you. I'm telling you, after 102 weeks, I'm still making mistakes. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, everybody. If you subscribe to my vlog, I'll see you mañana and every day, because I vlog every day. Otherwise, God bless you all and have a great weekend. And I will see you all next Thursday and every Thursday at 8 a.m. Thanks again, everybody, and take care. Thank you. Whoops. When you think of accounting and finance, what comes to mind? Don't worry, this is not my course. I have something just a little more special planned for you. Do you want to learn about accounting and finance in a way that you've never been taught before? Of course you do. My visual approach will teach you everything you need to know, and it will be a lot of fun. In fact, you'll wonder why you weren't taught this way in school. Oh, and if you get a moment, please check out the student reviews to see how so many people have enjoyed the learning experience. And you know what the best part is? No experience is necessary to take this course. So if you don't know how to model and value a company, analyze a cash flow statement, or understand the difference between growth and value investing, not to worry. We will cover all of those concepts from scratch. So why should you learn accounting and finance from me? I have an MBA in finance from Columbia University. But more importantly, I have work experience in the real world, from Goldman Sachs to several hedge funds, to venture capital and consulting firms. I've raised and managed over $1 billion in my career. Now I'm passionate about sharing my knowledge and experience. My life has turned full circle, from my own education to my experience in business, to investing in and founding several companies. Instead of teaching boring finance and accounting theory, I teach based on my own real-life practical experience, and it has led me right here to you. I want you to understand how to create, analyze, and forecast an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. I want you to thoroughly understand and enjoy finance and accounting so that you can be inspired to achieve all of your career goals. I have the tools needed to get the job done. So let's do it. I'll see you in class.